hybrid of spiritual plants cultivating immortality. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176 Road. Junior Sister Mew, you are even on guard against me. Wang Shanling looked at Qin Mew with a complaining look, and Qin Mew suddenly felt guilty. I want to work hard quietly and then surprise everyone. Qin Mew replied weakly. She answered according to the lines that Chen Jing transmitted to her and quietly memorized them in the little notebook in her heart. You also surprise everyone. Wang Shanling smiled, but she was reluctant to blame her junior sister and continued to stare at Chen Jing. However, the look she gave to the prehistoric beast was different from before, just a little annoyed. There must be a hidden relationship, otherwise why would such a good thing be given to junior sister Mew? Wang Shanling looked at her and muttered in her heart. However, if you can show this kind of sincerity, it's not impossible. Her attitude changed obviously. The cultivation world is also a place of fame and fortune. Those who can pay out resources will always be relaxed and treated preferentially in all aspects. Brother Chen, I apologize for offending you just now. I came here in a hurry and have nothing to bring with me. I will offer you an apology later. No problem. Chen Jing nodded calmly. He is easy to talk to most of the time. People who can talk to him either dare not provoke him or cannot provoke him. When he meets someone who can provoke him, he will not get angry even more. Sister Wang has come from a far distance, and Qin Mew has also been traveling all the way. He is probably tired. It's just right to go to the restaurant to have a meal and relax. I heard that there is some mushroom beef recently. It has a unique taste and you must try it. Chen Jing looked at the sky and thought it was almost time to eat. He has become the main consumer of the restaurant recently. He can increase his magic power and satisfy his appetite. Although it is a bit expensive, it can't even spend his monthly dividends. When he came to the Zhengxiu pavilion, he saw that there were already many people in the pavilion. At present, the Daoxiang pig is only supplied to the Zhengxiu pavilion, so that the Zhengxiu pavilion has never lacked customers and has a booming business. Recently, they have been vigorously expanding branches and expanding their scale in various markets. However, there are more people today, and the diners in the lobby on the first floor are all talking about one thing. Wantong Room. Why are so many people talking about Wantong Room today? Is there any new progress for that formation genius, Li Wendao? Chen Jing asked in confusion. If he, Chen, is the man of the hour at this year's entrance ceremony, then Li Wendao is the man of the hour in the academy. After the mid-year test, the academy has opened a credit list. It records the credits obtained by each person. Chen Jing ranked 17th, which can only be said to be in the top. Even Hua Qingshe, a player who is always in the state of enlightenment, only ranked 4th. Li Wendao is the first by a large margin. A master of the Shenzhen period who is less than 50 years old. Before Chen Jing arrived, he was an absolute man of the younger generation in the sect, a true disciple of Yandao Peak, and a formation genius. He has many titles. Yes, I forgot to tell you that Li Wendao and many elders have solved the problem of the popularization of Wantong houses. A notice has been issued. Soon, Wantong houses will be accessible to the entire Suzhou. Qin Mew said. Oh, this is incredible. No wonder everyone is talking about this. Chen Jing leaned back slightly. In this case, the market scale will expand more rapidly. His thoughts wandered for a while. Who will build this Wantong house, and who will manage it? Chen Jing asked immediately. I don't know. Qin Mew blinked. Is this important? Of course, tolls are not unimportant. Chen Jing nodded and said, if we allow local forces to intervene in the construction of Wantong houses, it will be very important, whether it is to make money or reduce trade costs. Junior brother Chen is not a local force. Wang Shanling reminded him. This matter can benefit the whole Suzhou. Ordinary elders are not qualified to intervene. Only the true disciples have this ability. I have heard Master mention that the construction of Wantong Fang seems to be twofold. Each main peak of the sect is responsible for building several routes, and then the new routes are handed over to the lower levels. Chen Jing nodded slowly. The general idea is to compare Wantang Fang to a train. In the early stage, one railway and one train are paid by the public, and the dividends and maintenance are all paid into the treasury. Later, Chen Jing and other true disciples can spend money to buy a railway and train of their own and open them to traffic. The pricing and dividends are up to them. In this case, I have to make more money. If it's not enough, I will go to the eldest brother, the sisters and the brothers, and work together to build 2 Wantang Fang. Chen Jing thought to himself, if there is enough money, he will have to buy a few more roads in other prefectures. The lower 5 prefectures are not favored yet, and no one is competing with him. It is an opportunity. As long as the road is in hand, when the economy picks up later, he can make endless money by collecting tolls. It is also convenient to build a logistics system. Even if all cultivators can fly and have storage instruments, it does not mean that the logistics system is not important. Even in the cultivation world, most of them are ordinary cultivators. As for the Wantang house between the upper 3 prefectures, there are too many rich people there, so don't even think about it. How long will it take to build this Wantang house? I don't know, at least not this year. That's good. Come, eat some food. Chen Jing was determined. At present, there is a large project on hand that is being spent, the beehive. A large project to be spent, the Wantang house. And the most important income at the moment is only one. The 3 billion yuan rice queen order from Wei Shao. Other dividends and businesses with less transaction volume will not work on these 2 larger projects. But the order from the yuan rice queen is only enough to barely support the construction of the beehive. If you want to open up the channel again, you obviously need to continue to open up new sources of income. Chen Jing calculated in his mind that among the several projects on hand, it seems that only Zuposi has this ability. Qin Mu has done a great job now. Fortunately, he didn't do it the way I thought he would. I must maximize the benefits of Zuposilk now. He was going to change the plan and turn the weaving factory into a pillar industry like the Agricultural Persuasion Institute. Sister Wang, what do you think of this Zuposilk? Chen Jing took the initiative to bring it up. Excellent, with endless potential. Wang Shanling was refreshed, realizing that the main course had already begun. She was eager to know how to arrange this Zuposilk. I think this Zuposilk is completely superior to Zuwen silk, so I asked Qin Mu to keep it a secret and plan to replace Zuwen silk. Huh? Qin Mu, who was eating, looked up blankly. Why was it different from what he said to her? Could it be to open up for her? However, at this time, neither of them cared about her reaction. Completely replace. After hearing what Chen Jing said, Wang Shanling immediately frowned. If you say it can be replaced, of course there is no problem, but just with your weaving factory? Is it feasible? Absolutely not feasible. Wang Shanling immediately shook her head in denial. It's a fairy tale. There are tens of thousands of acres of land planted with snow-patterned mulberry trees, and tens of thousands of households weaving snow-patterned silk. You want to replace them with your small weaving business. It's really ridiculous. Chapter 177 Empty Gloves Weaving Factory. It seemed that she realized that her denial was too strong. Wang Shanling immediately added, it's not that Zuposilk is not good. On the contrary, it is precisely because Zuposilk is too good that it can easily destroy people who originally relied on Zuposilk for their livelihood. Therefore, if it is promoted rashly, it will inevitably be boycotted. She was afraid that Chen Jing didn't understand, so she explained it in detail. When those who produce Zuposilk find that their goods are not going to be sold, they will definitely unite all their forces and force buyers to only buy their goods and not accept the newly added Zuposilk while they can still sell them. When the buyers can't meet their needs, they can only agree to this clause. Then the bad money drives out the good money. Of course, even if it can't be driven out, the development of this good money will be greatly slowed down. There will be all kinds of routines during this period, not to mention the dark routines. Even if others fight a price war, Chen Jing can't expect to beat others. He can only slowly eat away at the corners, and this process is very long. The upstream and downstream industrial chain is no less than the advantage of the product itself. It seems that I can only choose to cooperate. Chen Jing actually knew all about this. He said this for another purpose. Of course, just like the Kin family of Junior System U, if we cooperate with the Kim family, give the Kin family a share of the key to ZooPOC, sign a contract, and then we don't have to worry about the rest. She affirmed. Choose a strong partner to cooperate with, and then eat up the uncooperative ones together. This matter. Chen Jing has already done it, that is, Deoxiang Pig. Let Zhengxiu Pavilion get the exclusive supply of Deoxiang Pig, and then Zhengxiu Pavilion will dominate the world. However, if ZooPOC is also done in this way, the impact will be much greater than that of Deoxiang Pig. People will not die if they don't eat Deoxiang Pig, and any restaurant that doesn't sell Deoxiang Pig will not go bankrupt because of this. At most the business will be a little worse. But if they do this in the weaving field, those who don't have ZooPOC to produce will be directly forced into a dead end by those who are qualified to produce. It's hard to say whether they will die, but bankruptcy is no problem. This is inappropriate and hurts the harmony. Chen Jing showed a look of reluctance. Wang Shanling was speechless. You just wanted to take it all. Of course, if this can be taken all, then it actually has no impact. This kind of eating half of the other half is the most influential and cruel. I suddenly have an idea. Chen Jing sat up straight, leaned close to Wang Shanling, and said, what do you think? I open a weaving factory directly in Changchun Prefecture. It touched her blind spot. Unite all the forces involved in the large-scale weaving of snow vein silk, such as the Qin family, and set up a weaving factory together. They provide people, they provide labor, they provide money, and build the weaving factory. Then everyone can get goods from the weaving factory. Only the weaving factory can produce snow soul silk. In this way, everyone has goods to take. Isn't it wonderful? Of course, the weaving factory is mine, and the profits inside are also mine. I have the final say on the rules. Huh. She was stunned. She waved her hand in front of Chen Jing. Are you not drunk? Good guy. Still want to take it all. And it's even more excessive. Before, I thought it was a small fish relying on its sharp teeth to eat the big fish. As a result, this is like breaking teeth and putting them on big fish and then letting the big fish catch fish and feed them to themselves. You know what? It sounds quite reasonable, right? What a pity. Why should they agree to such a request? Because of kindness. Wang Shanling's tone was gentle, as if she was afraid of waking him up from his dream. Don't agree. Chen Jing's smile became dangerous, and he said, okay, then I will change to your way of playing. Unite a group to kill a group. Whoever refuses me, I will not take them to play. How about it? Huh. Hiss. Wang Shanling's eyes widened, and she felt that an electric current passed through her spine and was straight to the top of her head. If compared like this, it seems that everyone is together and happy, and it is not unacceptable to build a weaving factory. It can even be said that you have to accept it, even if you don't accept it. She has not investigated the specific circumstances of the establishment of the Agricultural Persuasion Institute. When she heard it at this moment, she just felt it was wonderful. Without spending a penny, she took away everything that could be taken. Of course, this must be based on sufficient deterrence. The model of the Agricultural Persuasion Office can be implemented in all the counties of Anning Prefecture because Chen Jing personally went there to deter local forces and let them know the stakes. In Changchun Prefecture, which is out of reach and has little influence, deterrence must also be guaranteed. If you cooperate with me, you can make a small profit, but if you don't cooperate with me, you will definitely lose everything. Of course, they also have countermeasures. Just stick together. As long as they stick together tightly enough, Chen Jing's deterrence of pulling one group and hitting another will be ineffective. But this is impossible. Everyone is afraid that they are under pressure on the front line and their teammates will sell them out and turn them into trophies. It's feasible. This is really feasible. No wonder I found out that you didn't set up the weaving office you mentioned before. It turns out that there is this arrangement. Wang Shanling was convinced at this time, and her evaluation of Chen Jing in her heart rose sharply, and she felt ashamed of her shallow cognition. Ahem. In fact, we still have to set up a weaving office here. He was a little embarrassed. There was no foresight. The person who proposed the plan only knew the plan 3 minutes earlier than her, the audience. Of course, it's better not to mention some wonderful misunderstandings. Only Kin Mu. She raised her head, opened her eyes wide, and tried to listen. Her small and delicate face was full of confusion. How could it be completely different from what she was told? But, Sister Wang, remember, watch more and learn more. Who cares about so much? It's time to pretend. Damn girl, I remember that you told me not long ago that you would stop pretending and show your cards, right? You want to be beaten. Wang Shanling blushed on the spot, rolled up her sleeves, threw Kin Mu to the ground, and stretched out her hands to pinch his flesh. Kin Mu, who was thrown to the ground, made a whimpering sound and struggled with his head shrunk. During the fight, the beads and pendants on the hairpins made a collision sound, and the clothes were pulled to reveal a touch of white skin occasionally, but the two were unaware of it. Do you dare to do it again? I dare you. Oh, I'll scratch you to death. Ahem. Chen Jing turned his head, stood up with the plate, and looked out from the railing. He pulled off a fried chicken leg with a crispy skin, took a bite, and the simple happiness spread from his mouth. He kept eating with his hands. He was still thinking about the follow-up arrangements in his mind. It is definitely not as simple as just said to get something for nothing in Changchun Prefecture. The manpower, material resources and financial resources are all provided by the local forces. So after the weaving factory is built, will Chen Jing really listen to him when he says he will listen to him? By then, I'm afraid that the accounts will not be clear. Obviously, Chen Jing can't really do it empty-handed. At least he must send his own direct lineage to the local area to take charge and keep an eye on those people. This direct lineage must also have certain abilities and backgrounds. Direct lineage means standing in the same line with him. Background: at least the sect must have some status, so that the power of the wealthy families in Changchun Prefecture can be suppressed. Ability: meet 3 conditions. Meet this condition. Chen Jing looked back at the 2 women who were playing. Kin Mu. People have a high degree of favorability towards him, and they also have the pursuit of making a career. Personal feelings and career planning are in line. In terms of background, he has an elder as his master, so he is not alone, and his own qualifications are enough to enter the Taoist palace. With this background, he can't afford to hire someone with a higher background, and it won't be useful if it's lower. Everything is just right. In terms of ability, first of all, it's best to be an industry insider, and secondly, to have servants to serve him. His Kin family background can do that, and he has the help of his master, which also meets the requirements. In this way, the weaving factory in Changchun Prefecture can be expected. Chapter 178. The storm is coming. Unconsciously, the cicadas began to sing less and less. The chirping that once resounded throughout the summer, now only a few intermittent sounds are heard occasionally. Until the fallen leaves in the forest, once green and tender, as if gently touched by the fingers of time, each leaf is dyed with golden color. The wind blows, and they dance and slowly fall. The shadows of the trees are dancing, and the sun is mottled. It is quiet and bleak. Suddenly, a subtle light entangles the fallen leaves. The fallen leaves melt quietly. It seems that they are decomposed by something, and turned into something finer than dust, disappearing between heaven and earth. A doubtful voice broke the silence. It was an old man with a fairy-like appearance. He appeared here out of thin air with a fishing rod in his hand. The old man stood in the air, and there seemed to be thunder in his eyes, and all kinds of scenes flashed in an instant. Since yesterday, the trajectory of every fallen leaf dancing in this maple forest has been restored in his eyes. Finally, the missing fallen leaf was found. He came there and stretched out his hand, and his arm was suddenly surrounded by blazing white lightning. Zzzz bang. As if grasping something, the space was like faded and mottled paint, crumbling and falling into pieces, revealing a deep void. Heavenly abyss? The old man's eyes flashed with surprise. Is it spreading again? A breeze came. At some point, another cultivator stood here. With white hair and a handsome face, he was the current leader of the Qingnang sect, Zuqian's Han. Brother Yunting is still very profound in Taoism. I just realized that you are here. Leader Zhu said. Let's take a look. The old man was Taoist Yunting, and he was obviously not in the mood to chat. It really is the heavenly abyss. Leader Zhu's face was solemn, and the air was a little heavier. The spread of the heavenly abyss means that a bloody battle is coming. It has been like this for thousands of years. He seemed to see the bloody storm at that time again. The Qingnang sect currently has 12 peaks and 13 caves. 10 of the caves are in Suzhou, and 3 are arranged in the battlefield outside the domain. But 100 years ago, Suzhou had 20 caves. The bloody battle 100 years ago directly destroyed 7 caves, and a large number of cultivators died in the battle, which seriously damaged Suzhou. The Qingnang sect suffered a heavy blow, which led to the invasion of the outer sects. The internal situation was also not peaceful, and there were many disturbances. For the strong men in the heavenly realm like them, 100 years ago was not a distant thing. Even the mortals who lived a little longer could vaguely remember what happened back then. However, even if there was no bloody battle, the outer domain was still a threat. The Qingnang sect needed to invest a lot of resources and cultivators to guard the outer domain. In Suzhou, it was rare to see cultivators who were good at fighting. Like Chen Jing, he basically did not learn combat spells, and after entering the sect, he could beat a group of senior brothers. This does not mean that Chen Jing is invincible at the same level, but that he can fight in the outer domain battlefield. Now he may not be able to beat Aing Chendao before. Aing Chendao is a warrior who returned from the outer domain battlefield. After returning home, he directly used the script of the Return of the Soldier King. Fighting the same level is like beating his son. With the 3rd level cultivation, he challenged the weakest 4th level tree monster, and there was no pressure. So Aing is very arrogant. He is the strongest in the black box, and has the capital to be arrogant. It's getting worse and worse. Taoist Yunting sighed softly. At first, there was a bloody battle every 500 years, and then every 200 years. Now, it's only been more than 100 years since the last bloody battle. Why now? Sect Master Zhu's face was gloomy, and he gritted his teeth and said, now the sect is just starting out, and showing signs of prosperity. It only takes 50 years to recover. Give me 100 years, and I will make the Qingnang sect glorious again. But if there is a bloody battle, everything may go to waste. Taoist Yunting gently wiped out the gap in the sky in front of him. But looking at the leaves that disappeared from time to time, it was like an isolated island facing the rising tide, and he felt very powerless. The sky is a disaster that plagues the entire 32 states of Shenzhou. It not only divides the land of Shenzhou, but also causes many collateral effects. The bloody battle is just one of them. For example, in Yunzhou, there are ghosts and gods from the 9 netherworlds causing trouble from time to time. Now in Suzhou, the biggest direct influence from the outside world is that people will dream. The nightmare world has a slight impact, and even mortals are fine. But when the abyss expands, and Shenzhou continues to be eroded by the outside world, there will gradually be ghosts, monsters, evil spirits, and more natural disasters like the erosion rain. The originally normal flowers, plants, and trees will become monsters, and the beasts and insects in the mountains will become monsters. The nightmare world will squeeze out more terrible nightmares. There are more negative spiritual powers mixed between heaven and earth. These things will not cause much fatal impact in a short period of time, but they will definitely greatly affect the development of the Qingnang sect. If the development is slowed down, the Qingnang sect will not be able to recover in time. When the bloody battle comes, I don't know how heavy a price will be paid to survive. According to the situation of the increasingly fierce bloody battle, it is unknown when it will be enabled to hold on. Brother, I will go back and make some preparations. Wait. Taoist Yunting stopped the action of Master Zhu and came to Master Zhu. What do you want? The two are too familiar with each other. Master Zhu knows that Taoist Yunting will definitely guess what he wants to do and what he can do. There was a long silence. He said, do you remember Mingju Mountain? At that time, on Mingju Mountain, the abyss had already enveloped us. You, me, junior sister Liu, senior brother Zhao, Kinga, Lana, we were all there. We maintained the formation, but we didn't see any hope. I thought at that time that we couldn't get out alive. At this point, Sect Master Zhu turned his back and raised his head. You and I are still responsible for their lives. If you do this, it will be difficult to turn back. If you don't do this, you will have to take on more lives of the disciples in the sect. Senior brother, act according to the plan. If that day comes, I will take all the responsibility. Sect Master Zhu turned around and disappeared. Taoist Yunting was in a heavy mood. He looked around for a long time before leaving this place in a desolate manner. Quietly, another leaf fell and disappeared silently. The discovery of the abyss did not seem to have any impact. However, if you pay close attention, you can find that the transactions between the sect and the outer sect seem to have progressed a little deeper. The various commodities in the outer sect market have also become more abundant. For this phenomenon, Chen Jing is more concerned. After all, he has a certain background, and he also has informants, so he is more informed than the average person in terms of intelligence. From the recently signed cooperation, it can be clearly seen that some of the interests seem to be a little hasty in giving up, and they have not exchanged enough chips. Several projects similar to beehives have not asked for the necessary technical support. Technical support is very important. It can support the development of local technology and is the key to ensuring that you are not strangled. If you use other people's technology, you are just an assembly plant. When others stop giving it and you don't have the next level replacement, what can you do? You can only beg on your knees. In this way, isn't it just fattening others and ruining your own plate? Did you exchange for something good? That can't be said. No matter how you look at it, it's a bunch of stupid moves. Chen Jing didn't understand what he meant. Chapter 179 Danjiang Zenren. Anning Prefecture. Prefecture City. In a city, the Duan family welcomed a guest, a famous painter from Changning Prefecture, one of the 5 lower prefectures, Danjiang Zenren. Danjiang Zenren is one of the famous figures in Suzhou. He was born in a mortal family, like Chen Jing's grandfather's family, a scholarly family. This kind of mortal family is passed down from generation to generation by farming and reading. The family business is not large, but the status is relatively high. Although they don't come into contact with cultivation on weekdays, they will occasionally paint portraits and inscriptions for big figures, teach the young masters, etc. It is a noble profession that can serve the upper class. 30 years ago, a group of evil cultivators appeared in Changning Prefecture, robbed the mortal landlords, committed several cases of extermination, and the people were turbulent, and the wealthy families were furious. However, before the wealthy families could make a move, this group of evil cultivators was destroyed, because they robbed Danjiang Zenren. At that time, Danjiang Zenren was obsessed with the way of painting. He was either painting, or on the way to painting. In the process, he intercepted a trace of spiritual power, nourishing the spirit and rhyme, and ignorantly started the road of cultivation. However, he himself did not know that he had cultivated. He only felt that the more he painted, the more he became proficient in painting, and he continued to immerse himself in it. Then, a group of notorious evil cultivators chose the family of Danjiang Zenren as a soft specimen, and rushed in broad daylight to burn, kill and rob. At this time, a picture of a fairy dancing with a sword that Danjiang Zenren had hung in the yard and was drying in the sun floated up. The fairy in the painting burst out with amazing momentum, dancing with a sword, to kill the enemy under the dumbfounded gaze of everyone, and in a short while, all the evil cultivators were killed. At this point, everyone suddenly realized that this guy who was obsessed with painting was so strong that he had become a legendary cultivator in the Shenzang period without knowing it. The name of Danjiang Zenren also spread from this, and even the peak master of Qingnang sect was alarmed and personally invited him to join the sect as an elder. Although Danjiang Zenren was famous in Suzhou and was happily included, his daily life remained unchanged. Painting mountains and rivers, painting the moon and the beauty. He does nothing, but his fame remains high. The only news recently is that he is an assistant teacher of Dunking Dao in the Daoist Academy. Every time he opens a class, the seats are always full, but most people don't go there to learn. The presence of Danjiang Zenren makes the Duan family proud. The current head of the Duan family happily invited him into the mansion. After the Fengshan sect incident, the main family suffered heavy losses, and his branch with well-preserved strength became the new main branch. Before that, his son married Danjiang Zenren's daughter. Marrying into a mortal scholar family has always been the best choice for a cultivation family. At that time, Danjiang Zenren was not yet famous, so he was a special prize. Later, He was able to take power in the Duan family, and Dan Jian Zenren's in-laws were one of the many factors. Don't be polite, Master Duan, I'm here for something important. Oh, what is it? Asked the head of the Duan family. It was the request of the Lord of Changning Prefecture. It is related to Chen Zhenchuan and Ding Zhenchuan. I'm not familiar with those two, so I will ask them a few questions. Dan Jian Zenren said. Oh, but about the prefecture city assessment? The head of the Duan family reacted immediately. Because the Wantang room can be popularized, the access has been arranged. But there is a priority in terms of time and sequence. Everyone wants their village to be the first to have access. The first to have access will get rich first, and the last to have access can only lick the bottom of the bowl. What is the ranking standard? Among them, a series of indicators have been added, which are called the prefecture city assessment, and the ranking is based on the assessment. The highest assessment weight is the number of new monks, followed by the number of graduates from the lower academy. New monks are easy to understand. It is the main means of exploitation of the Qingnang sect. In the eyes of the sect, the role of local nobles is only two. One is to maintain local stability, and the second is to provide cultivation talents to the upper level. Now, simply list this as a clear requirement. The second number of graduates from the lower academy is also very simple. With the accelerated development of Suzhou, the establishment of the academy provides professional training to grassroots practitioners, which can enable them to provide talents to the upper level more efficiently. For example, if you are a farmer, you don't need to be proficient in all the three magics, but you must be proficient in at least one. It's the matter of the assessment. Dan Jian Zenren nodded. This matter is not difficult. The head of the Duan family smiled slightly. The two young masters like to make trouble. At the beginning, we were tormented and miserable, and it was hard to say. I never thought these two really have two brushes, he said with pride. Because of the assessment, Ning Mansion has secured the first place. Of course, it is the competition among the lower 5 mansions, and it is secured in the first place. The upper 3 mansions are not in the competition. Let me tell you. The head of the Duan family took Dan Jian Zenren and talked about the various changes in Ning Mansion with a beaming face. Here, after the construction of the agricultural persuasion office, the weaving office and the temple was completed one after another, the stimulus to the economy has begun to show results. A large number of ordinary people have become monks. They take ordinary wages, do the work of monks, and contribute their value diligently. The wealthy families provided money and grain to help build 2 schools and 1 temple. The agricultural officials and priests took the money they had given out and bought their things. The money went back to their hands. There was also the peo and rice queen grown in the county town. All of them belonged to the local families. Although they could only sell it to Chen Jing, it was equivalent to making a lot of money for free without spending any money. They won a lot. How could the county town families spend the big money? They went to the prefecture to spend it. These resources flowed into the market, that is, the 4 major families. The bottom, middle and upper classes were all making money, a win-win situation. With optimistic expectations for the future, they naturally thought about expanding their operations. So they took out more money and grain, and made more investments. The expansion of the primary industry then allowed those who controlled the secondary industry to expand their power. In the same half year, there was no movement in other prefectures, but the production capacity here exploded, and various data grew rapidly. The neighboring friends were crying with envy. Master Duan, can you introduce me? Dan Jian Zenren expressed his excitement. He was an artist, and was not very good at chatting and doing business, so he asked directly. But the effect was good most of the time. Of course you can. Patriarch Duan nodded. Not only because they are relatives and the other party has a high reputation, he also has his own considerations. He is actually not satisfied with the current situation. Because with the opening of the sect, the outer sect market here can already slightly get involved in some of their business. This makes him very alert. The 2 young masters asked them to pay money and work hard, but they also asked them to give benefits. Everyone planted trees and watered them together and enjoyed the fruits of the harvest together. It was beautiful. You bunch of foreign bastards, come up and grab the rice bowl? It's simply unreasonable. Patriarch Duan's idea at this time was very simple. Drive people away. or drive away the things that affect his money making. However, Patriarch Duan was not familiar with business, and he only had two simple routines in his head. The first trick was to be a referee and an athlete, but it was a pity that it could only be used on those who were completely controlled. The second trick, price war. Use enough goods and low prices to crush the opponent to death. To do this, he is not enough to rely on himself, and he needs some allies. Come on, it's better to do it now than to wait for a day. I will take you to find Chen Jing. This young master has been wandering around Zinsen all day, so it's easy to find. Well, let's go. Dan Jian Zenren thought about it and followed him. They both summoned their magic tools and flew to Zinsen. However, after arriving, they were told that Chen Jing had suddenly left in one direction not long ago and left in a hurry. Go and look for him? Dan Jian Zenren said. Let's go. Since we are here, I will take you to visit the scenery here. The head of the Duan family nodded and smiled. Chapter 180,000 Years of Resentment. When Chen Jing was practicing earth vein magic on his own spiritual field, an agricultural official came to report the news. Something strange happened in Jurong village. The cause was a villager named Mole, who claimed to have seen an immortal preaching under the banyan tree, and wanted to accept him as a disciple. The villagers laughed. Brother, it's the post-immortal era, and cultivation is not a secret. Do you still believe in the immortal preaching? Not to mention that Jurong village is also a village established around the new town, and every family has one or two practitioners. Mole was dissatisfied with the villagers' ridicule, saying that he would know after taking them to see it, and then took a few idle people to join in the fun. When he arrived under the banyan tree, Mole suddenly became excited and pointed at the banyan tree and shouted, "See it? It's an immortal. I didn't lie. Where is it?" The villagers who came with him didn't see anything. "Can't you see it?" Mole was extremely surprised. "Have you got hysteria?" This sentence was said by Chen Jing. He heard the agricultural official who came to report repeat this and responded. The agricultural official nodded and smiled bitterly. "We all thought that Mole had hysteria, so we planned to take Mole to the town after the autumn harvest, or to the prefecture to get some medicine. During this period, we ignored Mole, except for going to the banyan tree every day to listen to the immortals preaching. He behaved normally. What happened after that? After the autumn harvest, Mole died." The agricultural official's face became solemn, and he shuddered when he recalled the scene at that time. Because of hysteria, the villagers were a little secretive about him. It was not until his parents came to Miramasa that they learned that Mole had been missing for some time. Our villagers searched high and low for him, but couldn't find him. "Did you look under the banyan tree?" "We searched the banyan tree many times, and in the process, we found many strange things." Next to the banyan tree, it seemed that Mole appeared, but upon closer inspection, there was nothing. In addition, there was suspected sacrifice under the tree, and wild fruits from the mountains were often seen piled under the tree. At this point, the agricultural official paused for a long time, took a deep breath, and then continued. Seeing that he couldn't find his son, he thought that he was in danger. Mole's father was furious and said that there must be an evil spirit in the banyan tree, so he chopped the tree with an axe. We stepped forward to stop him, fearing that he would accidentally hurt himself, but at that time, blood gushed out from the place where the banyan tree was chopped. We were shocked, but we were outnumbered and had some courage. As an agricultural official, I stepped forward and used the art of controlling objects to peel the banyan tree open. I didn't expect that this action would lead to the long missing Mole. Mole was embedded in the tree with his head upside down, and his father's axe was chopping at his neck. The agricultural official's expression began to twist. Obviously, recalling this exciting experience was a test for his heart. After speaking, he took out the bag in his arms and took out the things inside. Blood-stained soil and a branch. Chen Jing frowned deeply and used the art of looking at the key to identify it. "Take me to the scene." In the vision of the key watching technique, the spiritual fluctuations emanating from this piece of soil were tainted with something disgusting. Evil spirits. The smell was more authentic than the evil spirits in the realm of gods and ghosts, and the roots were red. "Who is doing something again, targeting me?" Chen Jing destroyed it, and then followed the agricultural officer who led the way to the Jurong village. Jurong village was named after the banyan tree. Legend has it that there was once a huge banyan tree there, and it was cut down by an unknown monk. Now only a huge stump and some ordinary banyan trees can be seen. After the two arrived here, the sky gradually covered with a layer of dark clouds, and the surrounding colors dimmed. A felled banyan tree was particularly eye-catching. What did you see? What? Hearing Chen Jing's question, the agricultural officer's voice was puzzled. It's okay, you go back first. Chen Jing asked the agricultural officer to go back first, and then stood still. In his eyes, a figure with a fairy-like appearance was leaning under the huge banyan tree. In front, squirrels, jackals, and various wild animals were crawling, listening to his preaching. From time to time, wild animals came with fruits, respectfully placed them in front, and then lined up behind. Chen Jing looked back. At some point, the equally huge canopy of the giant banyan tree covered his back. A vast and deep abyss completely swallowed up the back. Chen Jing's eyes changed slightly. He slowly stroked the black dragon wristband on his wrist, thought for a moment, and put his hand down. He walked forward step by step, took out one of his favorite longevity fruits from the storage bag, and placed it in front of the figure. Then he pushed the black bear next to him away, and sat in the front. Tao. The blurred figure did not express anything, and his mouth seemed to open and close. The surrounding animals looked intoxicated, as if they were listening to fairy music. But Chen Jing could not hear a word. It was as if he was watching a pantomime. Suddenly, the word Tao sounded. His mind was shaken violently. A single syllable made Chen Jing groan. He immediately held his head, and the word Tao was like a living thing in the spiritual world, running rampant in his mind, and one after another, huge shocks kept exploding in his sea of consciousness. Chen Jing barely suppressed his headache, and as his head was buzzing, the blurry figure in front of him became clearer. I have gone through thousands of years, nurturing a region, but you cut down my land, ruining my life, and cutting off my path. I hate you so much. This figure no longer looked like a fairy before. Instead, it was covered in blood, with a chopped neck, but it was placed on its neck, and it looked horrible and ready to fall off at any time. The head opened its eyes angrily, staring at Chen Jing with hatred. Chen Jing immediately avoided his sight, and his strong spiritual consciousness surrounded the syllables running rampant in his mind. Tao Tao Tao. Gradually, as the power of the spiritual consciousness was exhausted, the sound gradually disappeared, and the bloody figure in front of him also turned back into the original vague fairy-like appearance. People who die suddenly become ghosts out of resentment. This 1000-year-old tree died suddenly, and I don't know what kind of horrible monster it will turn into. Logically, these things will not be born in Suzhou. Who did it? Many thoughts flashed through Chen Jing's mind. Suzhou is a relatively peaceful place. No matter how heavy the resentment is, once you die, you are dead, and cannot become a ghost. Natural monsters and spirits cannot haunt after death. Someone wants to harm him? He has the blessing of Shenending hanging on his body. If he does something to himself, isn't he afraid that there will be a loud bang in the sky and justice will appear? Chen Jing couldn't figure it out. But now, he was a little embarrassed. How should he escape? He couldn't find the way he came, and the ghost shadow of the banyan tree in front of him contained amazing resentment. He was afraid that his movements would be too big and cause bad effects after the explosion, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Just when Chen was in a dilemma, a painting suddenly unfolded on the horizon. Ink splashed on mountains and rivers, and the world was painted with a brush. The dark environment suddenly gave birth to various colors. The grass and trees bloomed, and the sun broke at dawn. A middle-aged monk with long hair appeared here with the head of the Duan family. Dan Jian Zenran arrived. It is indeed the aura of evil. Chapter 181, Battle of Shenzang. Dan Jian Zenran's family was once robbed by a group of evil cultivators. Although he escaped unscathed, he still remembered the evil aura of those people. On the way to find Chen Jing, he noticed that there was an aura very similar to his nearby. The two of them immediately sped up and came. Then, they saw Chen Zhenchuan sitting in front of the evil shadow, looking trapped. Dan Jian Zenran immediately helped. The cultivators who entered the Tao through painting are often among the best in the field, and they are professional counterparts. As soon as the move was made, it was effective immediately, breaking the evil shadow's god and ghost field. After Dan Jiang Zenren finished, he heard Chen Jing shout, "Don't." Oh my god. He was slightly stunned. Then, he felt the strong changes in the surroundings. The evil aura that had been held back suddenly seemed to be enraged and boiled up and gushed out. The surrounding void was disturbed, and various strange phenomena emerged. Seeing this scene, Chen Jing had to get up immediately. Then he remembered something, took back the longevity fruit he had placed on the ground, and retreated. What's going on? What's going on? The head of the Duan family was shocked. Although he was also a Zuan stage cultivator, he was not good at fighting. If the head of a family with a normal background, such as the previous head of the Duan family, Duan Di, had some fighting skills, he was just a show-off. Evil demon, a 4th level evil demon. Dan Jiang Zenren looked ugly. The head of the Duan family was almost scared to death. The last 4th level evil demon almost wiped out the Yinming mansion. But then he remembered that the relative in front of him was the master of the Shenzhen period, so he calmed down. This place is so close to the city. How could there be such an evil demon? He is here for tourism. Chen Jing complained, and then looked at Dan Jiang Zenren. Do you see the reason? This person is a big star, so there is no need to introduce him. Resentment, Jiao. After saying 2 words, Dan Jiang Zenren suddenly stopped talking. After he joined the sect, he specially checked why there were evil cultivators who robbed the mortal world, because of his own experience. Where did the evil cultivators come from? After a lot of cramming, he found out the source. As I said before, everything in the world has spiritual energy, and different places have different spiritual energy. The spiritual energy used by evil cultivators is mostly negative emotions such as resentment. This negativity is not only emotional, but also spiritual energy attributes. Any negative emotion will fall. That is, it cannot exist for a long time on the land of Shenzhou. This is also why there are no ghosts in Suzhou. If there is no special spiritual energy collection method, resentment will fall soon after it is born. Where did it fall? Outside the domain, Jiao. In other words, there are indeed ghosts, but the start of the underworld is not the same as before. The same is true for merit and will. If there is no special collection method, as well as special physique and characteristics, then the merit and will also fall after it is generated, or ascend to the corresponding outside the domain. For most people in Kaishu, the world is single and unique, but for spiritual power, the world is extremely rich, and each kind of spiritual power has its place. As long as it is not retained by special means, the spiritual energy can easily penetrate the world and return to its own dimension. Dan Jiang Zenren suddenly stopped talking and realized some consequences. If this level of resentful ghosts and gods were not released by some people who deliberately raised ghosts, but were born naturally, it would be serious. At the least, the outer domain would be lost. At the worst, the sky abyss would spread. Either way, he felt difficult and fearful. Deal with this monster first. Dan Jiang Zenren calmed down and put aside those terrible associations. He unfolded his Shenzhen domain, and Chen Jing and Duan family master seemed to be in a real ink and wash world. The land of the ink and wash world is a clear mirror like water. In the distance, the mountains embrace, the green mountains are like screens, the pines and cypresses are ancient, and the lakes and mountains complement each other. In the near distance, there are pavilions and towers scattered in an orderly manner, and the cruise ships are gently swaying between the small bridges and flowing water. On the stone bridge across the water, a man in white was drinking and dancing with a sword. In the misty rain, an oil paper umbrella was gently opened. The whole world in the painting was full of poetry and painting. Suddenly, the world in the painting shook, as if it was broken, and large holes appeared in the sky one after another. Groups of cold winds whistled in from the hole. They fell into the lake, and the lake turned into a foul-smelling quagmire. They fell into the crowd, and the crowd dissolved into bones. The green mountains were stained with a layer of shadows, and the cruise ship gallery was broken. More cold winds kept turning into terrifying and ferocious beasts, and began to destroy wantonly. TSK. Brush painting floating life. Seeing that his own treasure was destroyed, Dan Jiang Zenren showed an angry look. He waved his hand casually. It was as if an invisible big brush appeared on the mountains and rivers, repairing everything that was destroyed. Another wave of his hand. The tourists in the painting no longer wore gorgeous clothes. but put on hard armor, arrayed in front, a solemn and murderous look. Chen Jing explored with his spiritual power. The soldiers in the paintings were all at the Yunling stage, the officers were at the Tankio stage, and there were also Zuanian level generals. Dan Jian Zenren did not stop. He drew all kinds of weapons. After a while, there were archers, crossbowmen, cavalry, and catapults. The people in the painting seemed like a real army, cooperating tacitly and killing the beasts transformed by resentment one by one. It was the first time that Chen Jing saw a 4th level battle, and he watched with wide eyes. In the Battle of Shenzang period, is it always the case that the domains erode each other? Basically so. Dan Jian Zenren nodded and said, but even in the domain, the mana consumption is not small. Look at these soldiers. Why don't I draw 10,000 generals of Zuanian period? Because I don't have enough mana, but I'm proficient in the way of military formation, and can coordinate the strong and the weak. I'm also proficient in the way of forging weapons and armor, and can draw swords, spears, and armor. With a small amount of mana, it can play a greater role. The opponent has a huge amount of resentment, but can only make some useless ghosts. Even if the resentment is 100 times greater than mine, I can still win the battle. I see. Chen Jing nodded. The art of painting alone is not enough to support its combat effectiveness. Dan Jian Zenren himself is also proficient in forging and military formation, so the army he draws is not just for show. This kind of battle in the domain is actually similar to the vision of Zuanian period, which is an upgraded version of the vision, giving Chen Jing a lot of inspiration. One of the inspirations was, if my magic power is as deep as the vast ocean, do I not need to make up for these messy things at all, and can just crush them with endless magic power? Chen Jing thought of this, and told his idea to Dan Jian Zenren. But Dan Jian Zenren did not reply for a long time. Because the resentment on the other side seemed to be endless. A large number of resentful beasts of the soul level fell into the field, and collided with the army in the painting. In addition, a large number of filthy things fell into it. Those filthy things infected the painting, and formed something like a fungus blanket. The resentment twisted and entangled, gradually turning into the shape of a banyan tree. Not good. We can't let the giant banyan take shape. Once the giant banyan takes shape, it can take root in my field, and condense a stronger resentful beast. My only way to deal with the enemy is this military formation and the sword fairy. If we defend for a long time, we will lose. Dan Jian Zenren was shocked and shouted. Chen Jing saw his dilemma. Most of his paintings were used to condense mountains, rivers, pavilions, and towers. He had a lot of mana, but he only had 2 output skills. The opponent's health bar was too thick to hold on to. He immediately jumped up. I'll help you. Chapter 182 Fierce Battle. At this time, half of the sky was engulfed by a thick black color, which was a dark cloud condensed by endless resentment. They rolled like living things, forming twisted shapes one after another. Black smoke swirled and danced in the low sky, sometimes condensing into a weird face, and sometimes turning into a fierce beast with bared fangs and claws. Dan Jian Zenren was sweating profusely. He claimed that his magic was not as good as his, and it was in vain. That his magic power was 100 times better than his, but the opponent taught him a lesson. This is the resentment of the 1,000-year-old giant banyan tree, which crawled back from the 9th Netherworld. Apart from anything else, its size is more than 100 times better than that of a newly debuted star player like him. I can still hold on for half a quarter of an hour. No, if the giant banyan tree is formed, At this moment, Chen Jing jumped up. With the magnificent dragon roar, he stepped on the black dragon, and rushed to the giant banyan tree. He had the black dragon wristband, a gift from his senior brother. This was a legitimate 4th level puppet magic weapon. It was completely wasted if he was just walking with him. Under normal circumstances, he could participate in the battle as a 4th level combat force. The black dragon roared, spraying out a breath of negative spiritual energy, which fell on the monsters of resentment gathered in the black fog. The monsters were shattered in groups, and large areas were swept away. True teaching, escort the sword fairy forward. Dan Jian Zenren was overjoyed and said hurriedly. His regular response was to draw an army and form a military formation to fight the enemy. In addition, he had a famous skill, the sword fairy in the painting. That was his highest single target output. As long as the sword fairy in the painting approached, he could quickly cut down the giant banyan tree that was gathering. Chen Jing heard the sound and looked over. The sword fairy in the painting was wearing white clothes and holding a precious sword. The sword intent came through the scabbard, like the sun that was about to bloom. Around the sword fairy in the painting was a military formation fighting hard to cover his arrival. "I'll lead the way," Chen Jing replied, standing on the dragon's back and commanding the black dragon to breathe. The whole team rushed towards the giant banyan tree like an arrow. The closer they got to the giant banyan tree, the stronger the resentful monsters they encountered on the way. Suddenly, a strong spiritual power wave came. Chen Jing looked closely. A pool of blood appeared quietly in front of him. A huge bull monster slowly took shape beside the blood pool, and its body was wrapped with blood-colored chains. The other end of the chain extended to the blood pool under its feet. Moo! The giant bull raised its head and roared, and the chains around it rattled and shook. The blood pool rolled, as if something was about to be pulled out by the giant bull. "What is this?" Chen Jing asked loudly. "Hate bull. The 7 emotions and 6 desires, love and hate, and hatred are all entrusted in the 9 netherworld. The hate bull is transformed by hatred, and the hatred is endless. It must be killed quickly, otherwise." The voice transmission was very fast, but there was no need to explain halfway. The hateful bull blew out 2 thick breaths from its nostrils, and suddenly moved forward with its 4 hooves. The chains on its back were stretched straight, and it pulled another hateful bull out of the blood pool. The second hateful bull was still carrying a blood chain, and the 2 hateful bulls were trying to pull out a third one from the blood pool. This is what is called, "This hatred will never end." At this moment, a thunderbolt sounded in the sky, and an extremely thick thunderbolt struck the hateful bull. "My thunder magic is only the 3rd grade, I can only suppress it temporarily," Dan Jian Zenren shouted. "Go." Chen Jing jumped up and made a decisive move, and the black dragon under his feet crashed down, breaking the back of a hateful bull on the spot. The black dragon turned around and swept the tail, chopping the second blood bull's head, knocking its head crooked. However, although the black dragon had the advantage, it still failed to prevent the third blood bull from appearing. Chen Jing saw that it was over, and this elite monster could not be killed in seconds. He shouted, "Go around." As he spoke, a vision unfolded, and the surrounding lake water turned into soil, and the tender green sprouts turned into towering trees in the blink of an eye. The true disciple actually charged forward in person. Dan Jian Zenren was shocked. Fearing that this person would bump into something, he gritted his teeth and the thunder clouds in the sky became thicker. At this moment, he only regretted that he had never paid attention to the method of killing and killing in normal days. Now that he had to use it, he found that his means were poor. He drew thunders to escort Chen Jing, and then took a closer look, and was a little surprised. Various plants kept surging around Chen Jing, which was very strange, but the effect was not bad. The resentful monsters in the distance were knocked over by the plants that spit beams, and the monsters that rushed to the nearby wood of plants suddenly raise their heads and swallow them in one gulp. It seemed that there was no need for thunder cover at all. So Dan Jian Zenren saved his mana and continued to draw the army and fill a hole in the sky. The team bypassed the battlefield of the Hate Bull and the Black Dragon and continued to break through. Chen Jing, who was the spearhead, suddenly felt a great increase in pressure. Looking forward, the resentful monsters were burning with blue flames, emitting negative spiritual fluctuations visible to the naked eye. They were gradually getting stronger. Once Chen Jing, who was leading the way, stopped, Dan Jian Zenren behind him would have to waste more mana to replenish the team. Dan Jian Zenren said, "I will help you with thunder magic." "No need." Chen Jing took a deep breath. The surrounding Bean Brothers began to merge with the Bean Brothers, turning into an unprecedented 4-tube Bean Brother. After unlocking the secondary hybridization, the monster species can also perform secondary hybridization of the same type. 4 Bean Brothers with different labels were combined to become the current Gatling Bean Brother. Perhaps it should be renamed Brother Bean. Da 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 da. Brother Bean spit out peas crazily, harvesting the resentful monsters that came like a tide, like cutting leaks. Chen Jing found that this thing was not much worse than the Black Dragon's breath. It's just that the consumption is a bit high, and the mana that has always been rich and full has been drained at an alarming speed. However, The consumption of mana is worth it. Otherwise, if Danjan Zenran used soldiers as arrows, it would slow down the breakthrough speed and might collapse halfway. Under the ruthless shooting of Chen Jing's Douge Gatling, the team finally broke through the layers of obstacles and came to the foot of the giant banyan tree. A figure with his back to the crowd stood in front of the giant banyan tree. A deep echo came. 4,000 years of Taoism, all lost in one day. I had hoped to be free in the world, but because of your villain's desire, I ruined my Taoism and fell into the underworld. For thousands of years, I have tasted this burning hatred every day, and finally I hope that the 9 Nether Gate will reopen, and I will make you pay the price. Brother. Chen Jing stepped back slightly and persuaded him kindly. I'm very sorry for the inadequate implementation of environmental protection. Now this place is under the control of me, Chen, a well-known Qingshan master in the surrounding area. Brother, can you give me another chance? Oh. The wind whistled. The thunder flashed. The red light reflected the back of the man, sometimes ethereal and handsome, sometimes hideous and terrifying. The figure turned around, with his head drooping on his neck, staring at him with eyes full of hatred. How are you going to repay this debt? If I become the Green Emperor in the future, I will make you the lord of this place, and you will live forever. You little brat, how shameless. Chen Jing himself didn't believe this. Even if the other party believed it, he didn't dare to believe that the other party believed it. So, it was just a tactic. The classics said that to deal with such a terrifying resentment, you must not provoke the other party, you need to make them yield while hitting them hard. Senior, you are a genius and have endured all kinds of hardships. Now you have finally returned to China and have survived the last calamity. As long as you break through the mysteries in your heart, you will be able to regain your enlightenment. Senior, why don't you put down the killing and comprehend the Tao with me? I have suffered the hatred of being killed and the destruction of my Tao. I have suffered all kinds of injustices. You want me to put down my butcher knife with just one sentence? The figure laughed towards the sky. Let's kill people and make rivers of blood first, then we can talk about other things. Well, then I have to take action to stop you from making a mistake. The sword fairy in the painting, who had been ready to go, drew his sword. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Macro Extraterritorial Battlefield. Danjan Zenran didn't paint everything. He only loved 3 things: sword immortal, beauty, and mountains and rivers. When he was in Zuanayan, the first Dao flowers that condensed were also born from these 3 paintings. The mountains and rivers painting became the foundation of his domain, with grass, trees, mountains, water, thunder, rain, and dew. The beauty painting became the foundation of his Taoism, and all kinds of Taoism existed for the beauty. The sword immortal was the beginning of his Taoism. It expressed his thoughts of becoming an immortal and traveling freely, traversing the world. Danjan Zenran closed his eyes slightly. When he opened his eyes, the sword was in his hand, facing the 1,000-year-old resentment of the banyan tree. The man in the painting became one sword. The brilliant silver light poured down like a waterfall, and the shocking sword intent was magnificent and fascinating. The sword immortal's body flowed, crossed the space, and slashed at the banyan tree resentment. I hate it. The banyan tree resentment did not dodge, but rushed up to the sword light. The moment the two touched, the surroundings were surging with waves, and the lake surface under his feet froze into ice in a short time, and then it was covered with cracks in an instant, and then shattered in a sharp sound that made people's teeth ache, and swept away. The two were simple and unpretentious, and they used all their strength to fight each other. The terrible aftermath of the battle brought great damage to the surroundings. Chen Jing had already retreated far away, but he was still caught up by the aftermath, and he almost fell from the air. It's terrible. In their own domain, each of them is like a god. There was a trace of envy in his eyes. Although he had a domain of gods and ghosts left by Jingchan, it was also a 4th level domain. But obviously he couldn't mobilize all its power like this, and could only package it as a game. allowing the 4th level statue to slowly erode and devour it. He personally participated in the Battle of the Shenzang monks and appreciated the mystery of the temple in the Shenzang domain and naturally yearned for it in his heart. What will my divine treasure look like? The vision is too desolate. It would be better to add some mountains and rivers, thousands of lights, and a great wall with Gatling guns on it. Chen Jing began to dream on the spot. On the other side, in just a short moment, within 10 moves, Danjian Zenran completed the suppression of the banyan tree's resentment. Although the banyan tree's resentment has a great advantage in quantity, its quality is still much worse. After the sword fairy burst out close, the giant banyan tree that was finally condensed was cut off and collapsed. It means that the giant banyan's erosion of the domain ended in failure. During this period, the Black Dragon has been fighting with the hate beef in the blood pool, and the soldiers in the painting have not stopped fighting with the resentful monsters. The soldiers can release spells. The meteorites and thunder in the sky are also the embodiment of spells. In this battle, the heaven and earth are fighting, the spells are fighting, and the people are fighting. It opened Chen Jing's eyes. It's over. The resentment of the banyan tree retreated. The figure of the sword fairy became illusory. Danjian Zenran opened his eyes, very tired. He was just an art lover and had never fought such a fierce battle. Fortunately, the opponent was a pure and reckless 9th-world evil spirit, and Chen Jing's unexpected strength made this battle safe. Win. We won. The head of the Duan family, who was shrinking in place, jumped up excitedly. The 3 of us are really amazing. What did you do? Chen Jing couldn't help asking. I didn't hold you back. The head of the Duan family was full of pride. Let's go and see the monster first. I just suppressed it and broke its domain. It still has the ability to cause trouble. Danjian Zenran said. The ink and water domain that replaced the surroundings dissipated, revealing its original appearance. The fight in the domain was so fierce that the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Outside the domain, the impact was reduced a lot, as if a strong wind had blown through, and it was a little messy. The 3 looked under the banyan tree. The figure knelt on the ground, slowly stood up, and sneered twice. Do you think this is the end? The gate of the 9th-world has not been fully opened yet. I can't do my best. Just wait. Sooner or later, I will come back to find you and seek revenge. The figure slowly dissipated. Only a deep hole with a strange atmosphere was left. What is this? The head of the Duan family scratched his butt and asked in confusion. This is probably the Anning Mansion branch of the 9th-world chain store. Chen Jing crossed his arms and guessed. This matter cannot be easily leaked. Danjian Zenran said solemnly. The 3 of them were silent at the entrance of the 9th-world for a long time. Chen Jing said, can I go in? No. I'm not going in. I'm just asking. This kind of overlapping place outside the domain, whether you go or it comes, can only pass once in a cycle. The true disciple should know the battlefield outside the domain, send people there, and no evil demons will come. I see. Chen Jing understood. This small area has also become a miniature battlefield outside the domain. However, there is an upper limit to the number of people who can pass through within a certain period of time. This upper limit is calculated according to the energy level. From the battle just now, it can be determined that at least one 4th order master can pass through. It can also be converted into multiple 3rd order or 2nd order masters. Moreover, the total amount of the 2 sides is shared. If the other party comes, the quota will be exhausted, and there is no way to fight back. Only after the cycle is over can it continue to pass. How can this channel be eliminated? Chen Jing continued to ask. If the monsters of the 9th-world often pass through, this channel will become stronger and stronger. On the contrary, if our cultivators go to other places, the channel can gradually disappear. In other words, we have to fight over here? That's right. At this point, Danjian Zenran felt a little bitter. Who goes? That's not sending death. Of course, the other side coming over is also sending death, but there are many cannon fodders in the 9th-world. We can only station cultivators here and kill them one by one. Until the channel expands to a certain extent, we will gather forces to kill over and deploy defenses at the other end. When the channel becomes smaller, we will quickly withdraw. This tug-of-war, back and forth cycle And this is exactly the current situation of the extraterritorial battlefield. This is a long war that will never end, but has to be fought. Chen Jing just felt fucked. In other words, he now has to spend a sum of military funds to suppress this miniature extraterritorial battlefield. It is only a level 4 now, and it will be upgraded as the battle continues. After the upgrade, in order to shrink it, more investment will be made. Level 4, Shenzang period, it is free to raise a cultivator of this level, and it is gone just like that, not to mention the subsequent expenditure. I know why the Qingnang sect can't develop. Chen Jing sighed. At least half of the expenditure of the entire sect, whether it is talent or resources, is invested in the extraterritorial war. Where is the extra money to climb the technology tree? Even so, there are still 3 major holy places in the central plains to create a business alliance and give merit awards to all cultivators fighting in the extraterritorial battlefield, which can recover some blood. But it is also a drop in the bucket. Let's go ask Master what's going on first. It's a good opportunity for Master Yu to come over and look after this place. Chen Jing was in a bad mood and didn't bother to receive Master Dan Jian. He went straight to find Taoist Yunting. Chapter 184 Response. Arriving at the main hall of Jushan Peak, he did not find his master. However, there was a great elder waiting there. Chen Zhenchen, senior brother Yunting, is now in the Outer Realm and cannot return for the time being. In the Outer Realm? That's right. Elder, do you know when Master will come back? I have something urgent to do. Chen Zhenchen, please come in and talk. You can call me Elder Yunxi. Taoist Yunxi is a female cultivator with fair skin and tender face. Only the crow's feet at the corners of her eyes are slightly deep. Although she looks only 30, she is actually more than 300 years old. She is a cultivator of the same generation as Master Yunting Taoist and a former disciple of Zhenchen. Follow her into the hall. She took a scroll from the table and turned to walk over. But what kind of accident did you encounter? Is it related to the Outer Realm? Yes. Master predicted it. Yunting predicted it. Take it. This scroll is for you. Afterwards, go to the refining hall and the alchemy hall to get some supplies. Your master has said hello. Chen Jing took it over. Then he heard Taoist Yunxi say, go quickly, and don't tell anyone. Yes. Chen Jing left with a lot of doubts. When he walked down the mountain, his spiritual consciousness probed into the scriptures, and a lot of information flooded into his mind. Puppet refining method, 5-element puppet, 5 thunder guards. There are 3 parts in total. The first part is puppetry, which records many puppet refining methods, and can create various puppets. The second part is the practice method. It is called 5 thunder guards. Absorb the power of thunder and lightning, master the 5-color thunder method, and transform it into 5 ways of killing. 5 thunder guards can practice from the beginning of soul accumulation, master the first golden thunder, and thunder around the body, like a golden armor, attacking and defending at the same time. Enter the orifice and master the remaining 4 thunders. Red thunder turns into a spear, green thunder turns into a seal, white thunder turns into a bow, and black thunder turns into rain. There are 4 types of offensive and killing methods. Chen Jing took a look and felt awe in his heart. Although the 5 thunder guards were 2nd grade spells, they were more powerful than most of the killing spells he had seen, and he had never seen them at the contribution exchange point of the sect. Obviously, this was a military secret. He continued to look down. The third part was the master's message. So, is it so bad? The message detailed the expansion of the abyss, the bloody battle, and the judgment of the future trend. If the expansion of the abyss continues this time, a bloody battle will surely break out within 10 years. In the last bloody battle, nearly half of the powerful cave heaven realm masters in the sect perished. Ordinary disciples and true disciples also suffered heavy losses. However, although the expansion of the abyss cannot be stopped, it can be delayed. As long as we try our best to curb the erosion outside the domain, the day of the bloody battle can be greatly delayed. According to past experience, it can be delayed for up to 30 years. Of course, at most. During this period, the territory of Susa will be like a broken ship, leaking everywhere. Various natural disasters and demons will pop out from a corner from time to time. So, the master left this message. What he meant was that his hometown was no longer safe, so he recruited people and formed a team of capable cultivators. After learning the reason from his master, Chen Jing went to the alchemy hall and the refining hall and took out some things that his master had prepared for him. The elixir 5 thunder pill and the magic weapon electric hammer were both used to assist in the practice of the 5 thunder guards. After returning from Jushan Peak, Chen Jing invited Danjian Zenren and Patriarch Duan to his exclusive restaurant, Zengxiu Pavilion. Master happened to be away, and it's just a miniature extraterritorial passage. I don't think it's a big deal. When Danjian Zenren asked, Chen Jing did not give a direct answer, but changed the subject. Master, do you think you have something important to do here? I was entrusted by the Lord of Changning Prefecture to ask Zenshuan for some strategies for governing the prefecture and keeping the people safe. Oh. Chen Jing nodded. He glanced at Patriarch Duan and said with a smile, the recent prosperity of Anning Prefecture is mainly due to Patriarch Duan's great help. It's true that the rumor is true. I'm just doing a humble service. Patriarch Duan immediately stood up and toasted. Okay, don't be so serious. Let's be frank. My holy way can allow ordinary people to enter the soul. This is no secret. I have sold a batch of Deo seeds before. So, most of you are here to ask about Deo seeds, right? Deo seeds were sold before, but they were not easy to sell. They were just for face. Because the cost of spiritual plant cultivators is higher than that of cattle and horses. But the current situation is very different. Now is the period of great development of Suzhou. The outer sects are very eager for everything grown in the spiritual fields of Suzhou. Even the simplest PO and rice is willing to be bought in large quantities. The value of various spiritual plants such as PO and rice has increased accordingly. So now there is only one problem in each prefecture. Not enough people are farming, and there are not enough spiritual fields to plant. Deo seeds can just solve this problem. Danjian Zenren nodded and expressed his opinion. The Lord of Changling Prefecture said that he is willing to pay spirit stones to buy Deo seeds, and he hopes that the true transmission will help him. I wonder how far the true transmission can go. How big a decision can he make on behalf of the Lord of Changning Prefecture? True transmission. Danjian hesitated for a while and finally shook his head. I can only pass on the message, and I may send someone later. Then I'll tell you nothing. At this time, the head of the Duan family quietly sent a message. The wealthy families in Changning Prefecture have some grudges against each other, so they can only let true transmission Danjian, who has no big interests and can convince the public to talk. But this true transmission Danjian is not a message tube, but he is not good at socializing and is unaware of his own status. His son Qingkai has been ranked as a true transmission this year and is the same as Chen Zenshuan. Oh, Qingkai? He is actually the son of true transmission Danjian? He still has some impression of the sword crazy teammate at the disciple taking ceremony. From this point of view, the two do look like father and son. Chen Jing nodded slightly to the head of the Duan family. This news is very important. Qingkai, as a true disciple, is younger than Chen Jing and has a father who is a celebrity genius. If you don't count the hybrid books, his paper strength is much more powerful than Chen. Chen Jing can subdue the 4 great families in Anning Prefecture, so Qingkai can do it too. Of course, Qingkai is a sword fanatic, and Danjian Zenren is a painting fanatic. They are not good at politics. No wonder the head of the Duan family commented that they are unaware of their status. It doesn't matter. Brains are good things. If you don't want to use them, someone will naturally help you use them. Chen Jing had a plan in his mind and smiled. Well, Tao seeds are actually easy to say. After all, they are also helping me preach. There is no reason not to spread them. However, how to spread them needs to be discussed again. True disciples speak frankly. It's very simple. I want to open an agricultural promotion bureau in Changling Prefecture and an agricultural promotion office in the county town. The rules are the same as here. This. Danjian Zenren hesitated. Chen Jing's model can be clearly seen after asking. It is purely borrowing chickens to lay eggs. Even if he is not very proficient in political power, he knows that the owner of Changling Prefecture may not agree. After all, Changning Prefecture is not like Anning Prefecture. They don't have an emperor above them. Why don't they buy out the Taoist seeds and set up their own agricultural promotion office? Chapter 185. Winning over. Please vote for me. Seeing that Dunjan Zenran was hesitant, Chen Jing smiled and said, "Are you wondering why I was asked to open the Agricultural Promotion Bureau? Can the true transmission help me solve this puzzle?" Dunjan Zenran nodded. Zenran has some misunderstandings about me and thinks that I'm also a noble family, or put me on the level of the Lord of the Mansion. In fact, you should call me an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur. A person who has the spirit of innovation, adventurous spirit, leadership, and management ability, and creates value by identifying market opportunities, organizing resources, and innovating products and services. Dunjan Zenran's head was a circle of confusion. He could understand every paragraph, but it seemed that every paragraph was so obscure and difficult to understand. That is, a businessman. Businessman? Of course, because it is different from ordinary businessmen, I created a new word, entrepreneur. The full name is people's entrepreneur. Businessmen pursue profit, and as a people's entrepreneur, I not only pursue economic interests, but also have a sense of social responsibility. All actions and decisions are considered to have an impact on society, mainly to promote economic growth and social progress, and promote social welfare. He couldn't understand again. Chen Jing took Dunjan Zenran's hand and said, "Hearing is false, seeing is believing. Come, I will take you to the countryside for an inspection. Food. Master Duan, eat it. If you can't finish it, pack it up. Don't waste my meal money." He dragged Dunjan Zenran away without saying anything. Master Duan was left holding his chopsticks and looking up blankly. "Earlier, I sold Tao seeds to the major wealthy families in Changning Prefecture. Have you ever met those spiritual plant cultivators?" "Yes." "That's easy to say. What do you think is the difference between the spiritual plant cultivators in Changning Prefecture and the ordinary small family cultivators?" Dunjan Zenran thought for a moment and shook his head. He couldn't see the difference. Moreover, because Tao seeds constantly absorb the spiritual power of spiritual plant cultivators, the daily consumption of spiritual plant cultivators is high, which is not cost effective. After those wealthy families bought Tao seeds, most of them directly sold them to the vassal small families. The vassal small families said they were screwed. "There are not many cultivators in our family, not because we can't have more, but because we can't afford to raise them. Now, we have to raise a costly one. The Tao I seek is to make more ordinary people so that everyone can cultivate immortality, but I don't know how to do it properly, so I sell Tao seeds cheaply to the wealthy families, hoping that they can explore some feasible strategies for me. As a result, you see, a group of insects wasted my Tao seeds and ruined the reputation of my Tao seeds." Chen Jing pretended to be angry. "This is indeed the case." Dunjan Zenran was a little embarrassed. The previous batch of Tao seeds made people dislike him. Those who wanted could not get them, and those who did not want were forced to take them. At that time, they were very disliked. But this time, he came here to ask for Tao seeds again. Although these shitty things were not caused by him, he is now the one who bears this embarrassment. "Zenran, you also know that I'm a great true disciple. Do I lack spirit stones? Even if I do, I won't sell Tao seeds to the point of selling them. I'm only devoted to preaching the Tao. But if they are like this, will they be able to do well if I sell Tao seeds to them? I'm afraid that they will destroy my Tao foundation," Chen Jing said angrily. This is indeed the case. Rising to the level of the holy way, the Dunjan Zenran had no room for rebuttal. "So, the aristocratic families are not good. I can only find a way myself and become a people's entrepreneur. I will not fight for power or profit." The surrounding counties and towns were very resistant to my agricultural promotion office in the past, but now they are eager to squeeze people in. Once my agricultural promotion office was established, countless spiritual fields have been opened up in the past 6 months. None of these spiritual fields are mine, all belong to local families. Is this true? So I asked the Zenran to witness it with his own eyes. Soon, the two arrived in Gua County. As the earliest developed sinking market, the economic development here has always been at the forefront of all counties. Chen Jing took him to see the agricultural promotion office, the local market, and the spiritual fields, and then made an appointment with the heads of various families. These things that had never been seen in Changling Prefecture made the Danjian Zenran gradually tend to Chen Jing from the heart. He had never seen an ordinary cultivator with such high work efficiency. He had never seen an ordinary cultivator with such a good life. At the same time, the market here was also very prosperous, with a lot of people buying and selling and trading. The key is that the prices here are still very cheap. Even the living standards of a large number of local ordinary people seem to have been improved a lot. After all, the bottom has been eliminated. After meeting with the local family owner and chatting for a day, Danjian Zenran couldn't help but have an idea. He should not resist letting the agricultural persuasion office enter Changning Prefecture, but should beg it to come. But this is contrary to the inherent thinking of thousands of years. This thousand-year fixed thinking tells him that the things on my territory must be mine, and he has never seen a situation where it is both mine and yours. In the original rule system, there is no such thing. People's entrepreneur. Danjian Zenran chewed on this word silently. Suddenly, he felt that the original inherent things were no longer sufficient to adapt to future development. Some changes should be made. But, wait a minute. Am I not just here to pass on a message? Danjian Zenran reacted. What is the treatment of his mansion lord level? He slowly tasted the taste. It seems that this true disciple wants him to be a double-faced envoy. It was the lord of Changling Prefecture who asked him to buy Dao seeds, but after going back and forth, he became the envoy sent by Chen Jing to negotiate with the Agricultural Promotion Institute. But, which one has a better future is self-evident. I still have one thing I don't understand. Can the true teachings help me solve it? Of course. Although the Agricultural Promotion Institute has a good system, in order to see results quickly, in addition to Dao seeds, there is another thing, which is the PO and rice queen. That's true. Many promising things were eventually eliminated because they couldn't see results in a short period of time. Normally, my Agricultural Promotion Institute doesn't have much advantage without 2 or 3 years to start. It just so happens that the PO and rice queen has magnified this advantage so that everything can be completed quickly. I think that the Agricultural Promotion Institute and the PO and rice queen are both very good. Danjian Zenran's words were almost explicit. I want both. There are still many shortcomings. I wonder if Zenran has any suggestions? Chen Jing asked. It's said to be a suggestion, but in fact it's an offer to give the other party some benefits. But he overestimated the other party's ability to read subtext, and he really put forward some ideas and suggestions. Very good suggestion. Don't suggest it next time. Chen Jing could only affirm it, and then said it more clearly. This Agricultural Persuasion Institute accepts many ordinary people from the lower classes, so it is inevitable to educate them. I'm short of scholars here, so I may be unable to do anything. I heard that the family of Danjian Zenran is also a scholarly family. If this thing can be accomplished, can you let Zenran's family help a little? I will also entrust Zenran with the planting a PO and rice queen. PO and rice queen is a bargaining chip for the other party. Let him use it to negotiate with various forces in Changning Prefecture and cash it out. You can't really bully an honest person and let him work for nothing. Thank you for your true teachings. There is absolutely no problem with this. Zenran and Jian reacted at this time and was extremely surprised and thanked him repeatedly. Dao seeds, Agricultural Persuasion Institute, and PO and rice are a combination of 3 sets. Give him 1 set, and after this thing is done, his family can quickly accumulate foundation and grow stronger. Now, Zenran Danjian completely understands what he should do. Become a glorious people's entrepreneur. I'm asking for double the votes at the end of the month. I want to reach the milestone of 1000 monthly votes. Chapter 186. Demon Slayer Division. The wind was cold and the frost and snow were flying. Yifan, wearing a fox fur coat, stepped into the heavy snow. Behind him was the Agricultural Persuasion Institute, where he had lived for nearly a year. In the past year, he went from an ordinary mentally retarded boy to the fastest promoted official agricultural official in the Agricultural Persuasion Institute. From an ordinary mortal, he embarked on the path of cultivation and achieved the state of Tankyuo. In less than a year, he completed the journey that others took 3 to 5 years. Praise, praise, envy. These did not stop him from moving forward. Looking back, all the past seemed to pass by in front of him. It's time to leave. Yi Fan's eyes seemed a little complicated. Just as he was about to continue on his way, he saw a familiar figure. Wei Ying, wearing a simple cotton padded jacket, looked around under a tree that had lost all its leaves and was covered with snow on its branches, as if waiting for something. Yi Fan was slightly stunned and stopped. He stared for a while and turned around. I don't know how long it took. Wei Ying under the tree was still waiting, but she didn't see anyone for a long time. She hesitated for a moment and finally chose to leave. Before leaving, she took out the still warm dry food from her arms. Yi Fan, be careful when you go to the demon division. You must come back. Wei Ying put the dry food on the ground and shouted loudly to the flying snow. She was so angry that her blood rushed up and she couldn't help but take a breath. She looked around with expectation for the last time and her expression gradually became disappointed. She left reluctantly. However, at a certain moment, when she turned back, Wei Ying suddenly found that the package she had placed there had disappeared. She smiled again, waved to the empty space, took a few steps back, and left with a much lighter step. At the other end, Yi Fan tightened his robe and held the package that was still warm in his arms. There will be a farewell. Why send it off again? Alas. He seemed to be denying something, but he couldn't hide the slight entanglement on his face. He raised his head and exhaled a breath of mist that quickly condensed into ice and walked into the wind and snow. This blizzard came a little abruptly. The little paper crane that usually used to travel could not fly and could only walk on foot. Yi Fan looked at the heavy snow and pondered. In the past, this heavy snow would have killed many people, but just a few days ago, the Agricultural Promotion Office launched a disaster relief operation. Not only agricultural officials, priests and weaving officials also took action. The two offices were responsible for distributing clothes and food, while the priests took out talismans for warmth, cold prevention, treatment, and exorcism, so that ordinary people could survive this heavy snow. After walking a few miles, they arrived at the location. A roadside stronghold, a bonfire dispersed the heavy snow, and a middle-aged monk with a beard was feeding grass to the horse. Who is it? The middle-aged monk's eyes were sharp. Agricultural Promotion Office, Yi Fan. Show the J-tube. HMM. The middle-aged monk stepped forward to verify his identity, and his eyes were much more relaxed. Recently, demons have taken advantage of the blizzard, and there are also demons who are proficient in illusion and can imitate human form. You need to pay more attention. Follow me in first, and we will set off when everyone is gathered. Are there many demons? Yi Fan couldn't help asking. Are you scared? Afraid? Yi Fan's voice was calm. I'm afraid there aren't enough demons. Wow, what a bold man. The middle-aged cultivator looked Yi Fan up and down and said, you have restrained spiritual power and a dignified aura. You have good aptitude. Before I came out, junior brother Chen repeatedly told me that there was a little genius to be protected. It should be you. Lord Chen is so kind. Yi Fan suddenly felt touched. He was actually favored by that lord. He was the most prestigious and admired disciple of the immortal sect he had ever seen. Why do you want to join the demon slaying division? The middle-aged cultivator asked. I feel that I have wasted some time in the Agricultural Persuasion Office. HMM. The middle-aged cultivator did not comment and said, since you have chosen to join the demon slaying division, remember to guard against arrogance and impetuosity and concentrate on practicing. In Junior Brother's Agricultural Persuasion Office, if you make a mistake, you will only have less harvest. In the demon slaying division, if you are careless, you will lose your head. I will remember it. Yi Fan nodded. He was doing well in the Agricultural Persuasion Office, but one day, he was notified that he could be transferred to the Demon Slayer division. After passing the assessment, he had been transferred twice before. When the weaving office was established, a group of people were selected from the Agricultural Persuasion Office, and when the temple was built, another group of people were selected, but Yi Fan did not sign up until this time. It is said that recently, some demons have appeared in various parts of Suzhou, endangering the local area. In the small place of Gua County, there have been several cases of demons injuring people, causing panic. So, under the cooperation of that Lord Chen, The nobles of the prefecture city and the families of various counties selected elite monks to establish the Demon Slayer division to slay demons and maintain local stability. After joining the Demon Slayer division, you can practice the killing tactics, and the practice resources are obtained faster. Even if you don't join the King Nang sect, you can have the opportunity to enter the God's treasure. Anyway, that Lord Chen promised so. Yi Fan didn't know what he was thinking. When he confirmed that he could practice faster, he decisively abandoned the identity of an agricultural official that everyone envied and chose to come to the Demon Slayer division to lick blood on the edge of a knife. When he came to the room, there were already several people waiting there. He glanced around. There were young men in gorgeous clothes, martial arts masters with strong blood, and cultivators like himself who had no special features. Are you all going to join the Demon Slayer division? Seeing his colleagues, Yi Fan felt as if he was one step closer to his desired goal. He sat down in the vacant seat, took off his fox fur, and greeted everyone. They exchanged their names and backgrounds, and the atmosphere became a little warmer. The young man said, "My father has some connections and has found out some inside information about the Demon Slayer division." "Oh, can you reveal something?" "Of course, we are destined to meet, and I will never hide anything. It is said that everyone must go through a test before joining the Demon Slayer division. I don't know what the test is, but as long as you pass it, you can." The door that had just been opened for a while suddenly opened. The middle-aged cultivator walked in, and his serious eyes looked around at the people around him. "No need to wait. Let's go now. There are 5 of us. Why are only 4 of us on the road?" The interrupted young man couldn't help but ask. "You'll know when you go out." The middle-aged monk retracted his sturdy arms to the other side of the door, and the cold wind that was blocked outside blew in, making the hairs of several people stand up. Everyone looked at each other and had to follow him out. Snow-covered. The middle-aged monk led out several very tall and majestic horses from the stable. "This is the demon blood horse of the Spirit Beast Hall. It can travel 1,000 miles a day and can withstand severe cold and heat. Ordinary tigers, leopards, jackals, and wolves are not its opponents. Can you ride a horse?" 2 nodded, and 2 shook their heads. "There is no way for those who can't ride. Sit on it, hold the reins, and don't move." The middle-aged monk got on the horse first and walked in front. Yi Fan was the one who couldn't ride a horse. At this time, he didn't care about anything else and climbed on the horse's back first. Fortunately, his cultivation is not for show. If he can't ride, at least he won't be thrown away. The 4 followed the middle-aged monk out of the camp. Then, the middle-aged monk stopped and pointed ahead. "This is the 5th person. He won't come again." Not far away, a bloody corpse was hanging on a tree. Its clothes were torn to pieces, and its head was missing. Chapter 187 Situation. Everyone stared at the bloody corpse in a daze, unable to believe that, before they even started working, a colleague had already died in front of them. The middle-aged monk snorted. "Are you scared? Afraid? It's not too late to go back now." Everyone was silent. Yi Fan also lost his previous heroic appearance. He only felt that the touch brought by every hair on his body was very clear. The cold wind blew, as if a layer of electricity was brushing across the surface of his body. This place is still in Suzhou, but a few minions slipped in. If it were a battlefield outside the domain, the demons all over the mountains and plains would be endless to kill and eliminate. Revenge. The middle-aged monk tilted his head and looked at the young man who clenched his fists and smiled with a crooked mouth. "Haha. Since there are demons, if we don't get rid of this colleague, who knows how many people will be killed." The young man raised his head and shouted loudly. "The blood and ki have not completely dissipated. The time of the murder is no more than half a quarter of an hour." The elderly martial arts master walked forward and did not shy away from the corpse. After checking it, he came to a conclusion. The eyes of another taciturn civilian monk flickered, and then he was in deep thought without saying a word. Yi Fan opened his spiritual eyes and observed with the key watching technique, trying to find some clues. "If you want to find the murderer, then you can play around. I will only give you half an hour, otherwise it will delay the business," the middle-aged monk said with his arms folded. Suddenly, the headless corpse hanging on the treetop made a sound. Everyone looked over, and the corpse suddenly raised his hand and grabbed the martial arts master in front of him. The old master did not even turn his head back. He was the first to arrive. He swung his tail like a dragon, and his powerful whip kick hit the headless corpse monster. Bang! The headless corpse monster took 2 steps back, and black blood oozed out of his body, which soon turned into black ice armor. Corpse, hurry up! The young man shouted, raised his hand, and sacrificed the flying sword, and flew over. It bounced on the ice armor and flew away. Just as Yifan was about to use his spiritual plant to entangle him, the taciturn civilian monk suddenly came close and said quickly, "The headless corpse has clothes left, it's..." Before he finished speaking, a flying sword fell from the sky and smashed the civilian monk's head. Not good. Yifan was shocked. He turned his head to look at the young master, only to find that the young master had appeared beside the middle-aged monk at some point. Although his back was facing Yifan, there was still a laughing face behind his head, sticking out his tongue at him. The middle-aged monk groaned, "Run." The next moment, the middle-aged monk turned around and fled, disappearing. The young master did not chase him, but looked at Yifan, then at the old master, and finally looked at the old master with excitement. Yifan had no intention of fighting with him at all, so he took this opportunity to turn around and run. Just a moment later, the old master's angry roar came from behind. Shap, shap, shap. The world became quiet again, with only the sound of stepping on the snow accompanying Yifan's frantic escape. Yifan panicked and tried his best to run back to the agricultural persuasion office. His mind was blank. It was not until he saw something familiar that his brain regained its ability to think. The evil demon. It was the evil demon. The evil demon killed his colleagues, and this matter must be spread. Yifan. Suddenly, Weiling's voice sounded, and she said in surprise, "You are back." No, how did I escape? Yifan suddenly remembered something, but soon, the cold breath seemed to strangle his throat. The monster with 2 faces slowly appeared behind Weiling, opened its mouth, stretched out its bright red tongue, and licked the back of Weiling's head. No. Yifan was startled, and sat up on the spot. His eyes were panicked and confused, and he was angry and scared, but after seeing everything clearly, he couldn't help but be stunned. The young master, the old master, the silent civilian monk, and the middle-aged monk, they were all beside him. In addition, there was another unknown monk, but when he saw the other person's face clearly, he was almost shocked. This person's face was exactly the face on the back of the evil demon's head. However, the owner of this face at this time was confused and depressed. The test is over. The middle-aged monk put away a magic weapon that looked like a mirror in his hand. Test? The experience just now was just a test? Yes, before joining the Demon Slayer division, you will go through a test. Except for Li Yuping, the results of the 4 of you are very poor. The middle-aged monk was exactly the same as in the test, with a little contempt in his calmness. How can I pass the test? I died before I could react to anything. The monster-faced monk cried out in injustice. I'm also confused. The young man smiled bitterly. I noticed that the characteristics and clothes of the headless corpse are exactly the same as those of Mr. Liu. But before I could say anything, then, Li Yuping shook his head. Yifan had nothing to say. He was confused from beginning to end, and now he could only look at the middle-aged monk with a slightly dissatisfied look. This fucking little operating space situation can also be called a test. The middle-aged monk raised his eyebrows, completely ignoring the reactions of the crowd. At this time, at the highest point of the hall, the sound of a folded book closing was heard softly. Yifan and others looked in the direction of the sound, only to find that there was another person here. The person was sitting on the top, lowered his head, and picked up a red folded book. He read, "On the night of December 12th, in Juxan Town, Langma County, 5 reserved disciples of the Demon Slayer division were killed in a blizzard on their way back, and none survived. The priest was ordered to investigate, go deep into the nightmare world, capture the nightmare remnants, and restore the situation of that day." He closed the folded book and put it aside. The red folded books with the same cover were already stacked in 2 piles. There is no reward or punishment for this test. I just randomly selected one of the nightmares to take a picture to give you an experience of the future work situation. At this point, He glanced at the young master. The young master immediately lowered his head. He also said that there would be some good rewards for passing, but it was obviously a boast. As for rewards, there are some. If you still dare to stay, I believe this nightmare will teach you. The tests set by others will give you a clue to break through, but the evil spirits will only take your life in an instant. After saying this, Chen Jing waved his hand. The middle-aged monk put down his arms and kicked the man who was still in a daze. Let's go. What are you standing there for? Go and settle down, and then practice magic to fight the enemy immediately, otherwise you will die miserably like in the photo sooner or later. Watching this group of people leave, Chen Jing stood up and rubbed his, but when no one was there, the chair was hard, and it was very uncomfortable to sit on it for a long time. Then he sat down again, and looked at the stacks of documents in front of him. The red documents were for many casualties, and the related evil spirits have not been eliminated yet. The black documents were for many casualties, but the evil spirits have been eliminated. In addition, there are a large number of yellow documents, which are suspected traces of evil spirits, and are being processed. It's not quite working. The disciples of the demon slaying division are so slow to train, but they die quickly and efficiently. Is it because my training method is wrong, or are they just so difficult to deal with? Chen Jing took out another financial expenditure and frowned deeply. Chapter 188 Dao Seed Upgrade. Chen Jing went through the accounts, looked up, and found that the middle-aged monk had returned at some point. Wu Ziking, the professional sent back from the front by the eldest brother, to help him deal with the evil demons. So far, he is the second Shenzang stage monk who obeys his orders after Master Yu. The Yifan, that junior brother Chen has taken a fancy to doesn't seem to have a brilliant performance, Wu Ziking said with some disappointment. Since he came here, his attitude towards the entire Demon Slayer division has not been good. With a deliberate sense of alienation, it seems that everyone is not the same kind of people. Chen Jing thought he had something against him, but after finding that the things he was asked to do were all done in time, he no longer cared. I'm interested in Yifan, not his performance. What is that? His talent. His talent for cultivation is indeed not bad, but if he is not good at fighting, it is better to go back and plant spiritual plants earlier. Wu Ziking was not interested. Seeing Chen Jing's non-committal look, he couldn't help but say more. Excuse me, junior brother Chen is too kind to the disciples of the Demon Slayer division. How can they go into battle to kill evil demons if they are not fully paid? Of course they should be fully paid, but they should be paid to those who can really kill evil demons, not to be rewarded indiscriminately. There is a saying that goes, no merit, no reward. What senior brother Wu said makes sense. I will consider it. Having said this, senior brother Wu felt bored and said goodbye and left. It's difficult. Chen Jing actually discovered this problem. According to his own understanding, he tried to train a group of excellent disciples of the Demon Slayer division by giving full benefits, but the casualty rate was a bit unbearable. Elite level investment in exchange for cannon fodder-like deaths. In other prefectures, similar alliances were formed to the Demon Slayer division, and a large number of disciples were also killed like cannon fodder. But the problem is that they are cannon fodder. Everyone is losing money, and the Demon Slayer division is losing money by investing in cannon fodder. Chen Jing feels that over time, his investment will definitely get the due return. He just needs to consider whether he can hold on until the day of return. I hope Yifan can give me this surprise. Chen Jing left here and went to the dormitory of the Demon Slayer division. It makes sense that senior brother Wu said that the disciples of the Demon Slayer division have good benefits. After being selected, they can be assigned to a small courtyard with 8 people, which has a first grade spirit gathering array. Even if the benefits brought by the first grade spirit gathering array are very limited, but there are too many people who have nothing. The other 2 schools and 1 temple can only be allocated rooms after the internship period, and they are ordinary houses. Dormitory conditions are only one of the benefits. The food has also reached the level of formal members of the 2 schools and 1 temple, and the promotion space is smooth all the way, except for the life-threatening tasks. In other aspects, it is already the level that most of the young masters of the wealthy families envy. Yifan has extremely high qualifications, but what really makes Chen Jing look at him differently is other factors. He is currently the only spiritual plant cultivator who has cultivated to the level of enlightenment. Yifan woke up from a nightmare with cold sweat. Since the last test, when he was dragged into a nightmare and was slaughtered by evil demons, the aura of the nightmare world has been left on his body. Occasionally, he will be dragged into it in his sleep and experience it again. Whenever a nightmare comes, he will actively respond and think about countermeasures. But once waning is involved, the nightmare will quickly get out of control and finally wake up. A nightmare that does not scare people is not a nightmare. Yifan also understood from this that he is not afraid of evil demons, but he is afraid that the only person who cares about him will be hurt. Since I have woken up from the dream, I might as well practice. He looked at the bright moon outside the window, tossed and turned, got up and went to the yard to absorb the power of the moonlight. When it comes to Tonkyo, there are 3 orifices of spirit, energy, and spirit to fill. Every time a ray of spiritual power fills a spiritual orifice, I feel a little bit of peace in my heart. Yifan didn't know. At this time, the head of the Demon Slayer department was beside him, watching him practice. Sure enough, my guess has been verified. The Tao seeds have evolved as the parasites become stronger. Chen Jing opened the hybrid book. Under the Tao seeds column, there is a lot of more information. Tao seed spores 1 star 2 stars description. Special hybrid spores that have been transformed multiple times. After parasitizing a mortal, they will advance as the mortal's practice progresses. At this time, under normal circumstances, the Tao seed will no longer harm the host by absorbing spiritual energy and blood, but it will still absorb the host's spiritual energy and blood. Replacement restrictions. Tao seeds cannot be promoted to higher level Tao seeds by consuming mana, but they can be replaced in the same level. Rehybridization. It is allowed to hybridize with other spiritual plants again. From the original first level to the second level, the restriction of providing spiritual energy once within 7 days is also lifted. After reading the description below, Chen Jing immediately understood. This thing has become a pure benefit. Under the condition that other things remain unchanged, the 2-star Tao seed spores will randomly add an additional main label. This label is initially white. Only the master of the hybrid book can consume mutation points to improve its quality. The original Tao seed only had 2 main entries, the golden parasitic combination and the inner soul that grants the qualification for practice. Parasitic combination comes from distorted spores, and the soul is derived from PO and rice. After the promotion, an unknown tag was added out of thin air. Chen Jing looked at Yifan. The 3rd main entry of Yifan's Dao seed has been formed. Tag, 3-line cycle, white. Description. The 5 internal organs can only accommodate 3 types of spiritual power, and then it can be circulated. Chen Jing was a little surprised. He had seen the 3-line cycle in the classics. For a certain special physique, in the middle stage of the orifice, when the 5 elements of spiritual power are gathered and circulated, it is enough to collect 3 types of spiritual power. You know, Chen, in turn, filled up the wind spiritual power, the power of the moon, the pure spirit, and the merit and will power. Only when 4 of the 5 are filled, can the last shadow spiritual power be derived by itself. During this period, this and that were gathered everywhere, and it was lucky to gather 4 non-conflicting ones. If he had the 3-line cycle at that time, he could save the collection of one of the spiritual powers, which was safe and worry-free. What a good entry. With this thing, the difficulty of cultivation for spiritual plant cultivators in the Tonkyo period will be greatly reduced. Chen Jing immediately used the hybrid book to save the 2nd level Dao seed template on Yifan. Your entry is very good, confiscate it. Then, new ideas were extended. Ordinary Dao seeds can be upgraded to 2nd level Dao seeds, so what about other types of Dao seeds? He has only developed 1 type of Dao seed at present. That is, the combination of distorted spores and PO and rice, in order to allow ordinary mortals to have the ability to practice, and to have a basic guarantee for this ability. The distorted spores can also be hybridized with other types of spiritual plants, and then implanted into the human body. This ability has been tested a long time ago. Because most of them are simply to increase lethality, it was not used in the general environment at that time, so Chen Jing did not continue to develop it. Until now, he remembered the old plan that had been thrown behind his head. I need a new bottom line now, a bottom line in terms of combat effectiveness. In the early experiments, Chen Jing initially judged that a cultivator could accommodate no more than 2 spores in the Yundling period and no more than 3 in the Tankio period. This is the perfect time to start developing the second and third seeds. Chapter 189. The second seed. Chen Jing first returned to his own laboratory, the floating world record. Now only the gardener is still cultivating his sentiments in the floating world record, and the mud dragon has long been sent to the Agricultural Persuasion Institute as a special consultant to engage in spiritual vein transformation. He did not disturb the gardener and experimented with the second seed alone. The first seed will not be changed, it will give people the talent for cultivation, and the second seed is positioned as combat effectiveness, giving people the instinct to fight. There are often only a few dimensions to measure combat effectiveness: lethality, special killing methods, vitality, defense. I'm not fighting alone, so I don't ask for the best, I only ask for the most complete. Secondly, who is the target of the battle? For the time being, the foreign evil demons are the main target of the struggle at present, and the development of the seeds against the evil demons will be the main focus for the time being. Chen Jing sorted out his thoughts and opened the rich list of demon species. Thanks to the explosion of plant battles, most of the demon species in the realm of gods and ghosts have been collected. The reason why I say most of them is that after 10 days or half a month, a new demon species will be added. Most of these monster species are of the first order, accounting for 80%, the second order accounts for 18%, and the rest are all third order monster species, with no fourth order. Chen Jing does not dislike the low grade of the monster species, but rather says that the lower the better. After all, the hybrids are not for his own use. Now the spiritual plant cultivators have begun to take shape, but among so many people, only one Yifan has reached the second order. The hybrids are too high grade and can only be put aside. When the disciples of the Demon Slayer division encounter evil demons, they have flying swords, spells, and talismans to kill the enemy, but to survive. It's not that there are no defensive magic tools and talismans, but there are almost no low-level props that are automatically triggered. When most cultivators die at the hands of evil demons, the defensive props are in their hands, and it's too late to use them. Chen Jing thought of this. He immediately had an idea. Attack, attack. What kind of attack is needed? Only if you can survive, can you have output. I've spent so many spiritual stones and so many resources to train you, not to raise glass cannons and exchange 1-for-1 with evil demons. You must be meaty. 3 monster species quickly came to mind. The strongest defensive monster species of the first level, copper skin tree. The strongest vitality monster species of the first level, regeneration vine. The strongest life-saving monster species of the first level, bewitching flower. The copper skin tree is already an old friend, and its greatness needs no further explanation. The regeneration vine, as its name implies, has only a small section left, and can regenerate with a little spiritual power. It is a very cheap and very valuable monster species that can regenerate broken limbs and survive serious injuries. The last bewitching flower, referring to Chen who got up early, hides behind an illusion and anyone dares to poke it with a sword. The same is true for the bewitching flower. It is born with illusion and bewitching abilities. It is a bit fragile, but under normal circumstances, it is a problem to touch it. Begin hybridization. First level Tau seed plus copper skin tree. The previous series of descriptions remain unchanged, and the description of the copper skin tree has been added. Copper skin Tau seed, 1 star. When the host is hit hard, the copper skin state will be automatically activated, with extremely strong resistance to blows, and the wound can be transformed into bleeding roots to automatically fight back. Label 1, parasitic combination, gold. Label 2, soul containment, white. A Dao seed with fighting ability was born. Chen Jing was thinking that this was stronger than the first level Dao seed that had not been hybridized twice, and soon saw the note description. Note, under the influence of the copper skin tree, the new labels obtained when advancing to a 2-star Dao seed are locked to the talents of the copper skin tree. It seems that it cannot replace the first Dao seed. Although both Deo seeds have the adjustable soul containment label, the battle Deo seed will not be able to get the 3-line cycle and other auxiliary cultivation terms after the advancement, which is a bit of a loss. You know, Chen Jing thinks the 3-line cycle is good. Chen Jing nodded slightly. Very good. The first Deo seed focuses on cultivation, and the second Deo seed focuses on combat. The division of labor is clear. From now on, it will be renamed Cultivation Deo Seed and Combat Deo Seed. He gave birth to the Cultivation Deo Seed and the Corpuscan Deo Seed and implanted them in his body. The newly born ones were all first level. After parasitism, the 2 Deo seeds seemed to have received some kind of enlightenment and began to evolve themselves. Chen Jing felt it a little and frowned slightly. It was a bit slow. It would take about a month to advance to the 2nd level Deo seed, and this was when he used the capital of the Zuanayan period to raise the 1st level Deo seed. It seems that it is better to raise a Deo seed from the beginning and then implant it later, and it will have to be run in again. Chen Jing also had the idea of brushing the 2nd level Deo seed main item himself, but he had to give up with regret. With the physical strength and spiritual power of a Tankyo cultivator, you can add another Deo seed into the body, forming a configuration of 2+1 cultivation and combat, or 1+2 combat and cultivation. Huge enhancement. However, it is also difficult to support. Even if the 2nd level Deo seed will not suck the host to death, it will suck. Chen Jing immediately came up with a new idea. Today's Deo seeds are all the products of a single hybridization, and he has unlocked the secondary hybridization. It is entirely possible to make the Deo seed continue to become stronger. He immediately began to experiment. Chen Jing started the secondary hybridization with the cultivation Deo seed. He had previously made many secondary items of the cultivation Deo seed. At this time, he randomly selected 2 and started the secondary hybridization. The selections were respectively: abnormal development, blue. The more abnormal your behavior, the higher your cultivation efficiency will be, up to 300%. Focus on people, white. The more obsessive you are, and the more you pay attention to rituals, the higher your cultivation efficiency will be, up to 25%. With the ding, the secondary hybrid Deo seed was born. Chen Jing couldn't wait to check the effect. Cultivation Deo seed, 1 star. The cultivation Deo seed after secondary hybridization, while giving the mortal cultivation qualifications, obtains a maximum of 300% increase in cultivation speed according to the abnormal behavior. If there is a further pursuit of rituals and obsessive compulsive disorder for abnormal behavior, the cultivation speed will increase by another 50%. Label 1, abnormal, makes me rigorous. Purple, after meeting the conditions, obtain an additional 350% increase in cultivation speed. This, Chen Jing scratched his head and was a little moved. Cultivation, who wouldn't be crazy? Save it. Then hybridize the battle Deo seed, the Corpuscan tree. Because there is no label about the Corpuscan tree, it is still hybridized with different soul enriching sub-item labels. The object selected this time is the taste of which hey, purple. After the sex change, the cultivation talent has improved. 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west. Don't bully the poor young man. Purple, when you are broken off at the age of 14, you can activate this effect permanently, and the cultivation efficiency is stable at 1000%. Chen Jing put the 2 together, looked at it carefully. Cultivation Tau seed, 1 star. After the second hybridization of the battle Tau seed, while giving the cultivation qualification, it is once again given a 10-fold increase in talent after the sex change. When used with the broken engagement, it is more flavorful. Label 1, breaking off the engagement makes me change my sex. Purple, satisfy both conditions at the same time, and get an additional 2500% increase in cultivation speed. Chen Jing looked at the abnormal makes me rigorous on his left hand, and then looked at the break off the engagement, makes me change my sex on his right hand. A total of 28.5 times the terrifying cultivation talent, just waiting for a suitable person to use them. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Differences. Chen Jing first installed the 2 abnormal Dao seeds on himself. As a responsible Dao seed developer, every new Dao seed must be tested on himself before it can be promoted with confidence. He felt the 2 Dao seeds begin to entangle with flesh and blood, parasitizing and combining. Then, the Dao seeds began to devour violently, absorbing all the energy in the body. Chen Jing frowned slightly. No. The second hybrid Dao seeds are obviously more brutal than the first hybrid, and the burden on the host is greatly increased. Originally, the soul cultivator can only install 2 Dao seeds at most, but the second hybrid Dao seeds can only install 1, and the spiritual power absorption once every 7 days has become once every 3 days again. This burden, even for the open-minded cultivator, cannot bear more than 2 Dao seeds, and more will affect the practice. Chen Jing sentenced the second hybrid Dao seeds to a suspended death sentence in his heart. Although the effect is richer than the first hybrid, this burden is not suitable for large-scale promotion. It can be placed at a fixed point and tailored. For example, if the 2 abnormal Dao seeds meet the right person, it is still very good. Since I'm already pretending, why not practice? Chen Jing's heart moved. He felt that this was mostly useless, because he was neither perverted nor obsessive compulsive, and breaking off the engagement and changing sex were nonsense, so increasing talent was naturally useless. However, as a person with a traditional personality, I'm here now was a curse that he could never resist. With this thought in mind, Master Chen began to practice. Without internal medication, practice requires concentration and meditation to guide the spiritual power of heaven and earth. No matter what the spiritual power is, it is extracted all at once and then slowly refined. The speed of absorbing the spiritual power of heaven and earth and the speed of refining are the most intuitive of the many manifestations of talent. Wait a minute. Chen Jing suddenly opened his eyes. The speed of practice has increased significantly? Huh? Exclamation mark. I'm the pervert. I said that this second hybrid Dao seed is not good. Chen Jing was furious and took out 2 Dao seeds and annihilated them with mana. Rubbish Dao seeds, ruining my innocence. No matter what it is, it's better not to have it. Having rejected the path of the second-class Dao seed, Chen Jing concentrated on enriching the types of the first-class Dao seed. Battle Dao seed regeneration vine, 1 star, labels 1 and 2, omitted. Label 3, regeneration, green, can self-replicate most of the tissues of the body and repair the related tissues after they are damaged. Battle Dao seed enchanted flower, 1 star, labels 1 and 2, omitted. Label 3, enchanted, green, actively cast enchanted, generate a fake body phantom around to confuse the opponent. When the opponent is confused by the phantom, you can further control his mind. When locked by malicious gaze, you can passively cast enchanted. Chen Jing watched 200 sub-attributes casually. The best sub-attribute of the regeneration vine is I'm cannon fodder. You can save half a life of regeneration power in advance and quickly recover without consumption when the injury does not exceed half a life. I'm cannon fodder, worthy of the name. The enchanted flower did not swipe out a sub-attribute that was immediately effective, but it swiped out a fraud veteran, which has very good growth potential. The more you cast the spell, the more successful it will be. Chen Jing decided to promote these 3 kinds of fighting Tao. Just when Chen Jing was experimenting in the floating world record, Yi Fan was interrupted from his hard practice. The smell of urine came from the side. With someone's comfortable hum, he picked up his belt and came to Yi Fan's side. Hey, you're practicing hard. The person who came was Wu Ziking, and he slept in the courtyard next door. At first, he noticed the breath of Chen Jing's arrival and thought that Chen Jing had something to ask him. As a result, when he came out, he saw that Chen Jing just stared at Yi Fan and observed him until he left without saying a word. This made Wu Ziking feel a little emotional again. As a cultivator of the fighting type, after he entered the sect, he only stayed in the sect for 3 years before going to fight outside the domain. Decades of life and death fighting outside the domain gradually changed his temperament. When looking at people, first distinguish between enemies and friends, and then distinguish between strong and weak. If a person has a love system, then what he sees when checking others is gender, personality, measurements, and favorability. Wu Ziqing has his own combat system. When he looks at people, the first thing he sees is combat power, and then an evaluation appears. I'm like a god in front of him. When a monk whose only value is combat power returns to the rear from the front line, he will naturally appear out of place. He feels that everyone he sees is a weakling. But reason tells him that it is the fellow brothers who are working hard in the rear that can be free at the front line and get a steady supply of material support. So the sense of alienation comes from this. These days, this discomfort has not only not subsided, but has become more and more uncomfortable. Wu Ziqing is not used to Chen Jing's gentle approach and is very uncomfortable. Now he finally decided to do something. Instructor Wu. Seeing that it was the chief instructor of the Demon Slayer division, Yifan quickly stood up and greeted him. I remember you, Yifan, right? I heard from my junior brother that you have some talent, and seeing you practice diligently day and night, I really can't bear to see you make any more mistakes. Wrong. Junior brother Chen is too kind to you. I admit that he has lofty ambitions, which I cannot reach, but there is a saying, since ancient times, that kindness cannot rule the army. If you continue to waste time in the hands of junior brother Chen, you will only waste your talent. Teacher, what should I do? Do you want to become stronger? Yes. Are you afraid of death? No. Okay. Wu Ziqing nodded. From today on, you will listen to my orders alone. I can't guarantee that you can survive, but I guarantee that you can keep getting stronger while you are alive. But Lord Chen. At this time, Chen Jing came from the side. He could also sense the situation nearby in the floating world record and listen to the conversation between the two. At this time, the experiment was completed and he appeared. Brother Wu came from outside the domain. He is 100 times better than me in fighting skills. I'm no match for him in the same realm. He teaches you wholeheartedly. You are lucky. Master Chen. Yifan was about to say something when he heard a sound behind him and looked back. In the house, the people in the same dormitory had been woken up. They had been listening for an unknown period of time and were quietly observing from behind. Heads also popped out from the wall of the courtyard next door, watching this scene under the moon. A group of night owls. Chen Jing didn't care about the people who were eavesdropping. He waved his hand and spoke to Yifan in a calm tone. Don't worry about my attitude. Brother Wu will teach you, and you will still work in the demon slaying division. It makes no difference to me. It's just that I don't agree with Brother Wu's teaching method. That teaching method is good in every way, but it is too useless. His voice was a little louder. In my hands, I will first guarantee your lives, and secondly guarantee that, even if you are 100% useless, I will still let you achieve something. As for geniuses, I really don't know how to teach them. If you are willing to take the risk, I will ask senior brother Wu to teach you everything I know. Faced with this statement, Yifan hesitated slightly, but before he could make a decision, Chen Jing decided for him. In 2 days, there will be some changes in the Demon Slayer division. A pillar hall will be added. The selection of personnel will be supervised by Chief Instructor Wu himself. Think carefully and decide whether to stay or leave. Chapter 191 Circle. The Demon Slaying division was established in a bit of a hurry, and there were many problems inside. Senior brother Wu was just one of the people who disagreed with its system. In addition, there were some other problems. The personnel composition was one of them. The current members of the Demon Slaying division were mainly disciples of aristocratic families. They accounted for a full 50%. For example, the aristocratic families in the prefecture city had thousands of family disciples in the realm of Tankyou, and they would receive certain fighting training, called clan soldiers. Before Chen Jing, the aristocratic families themselves had the ability to maintain stability in one area. On the contrary, Chen set up the Demon Slaying division and absorbed some of the clan soldiers of the aristocratic families into his own management system, which was essentially to seize the military power of the aristocratic families. As the saying goes, there is no scripture where there is no fire, and there is fire where there is scripture. The rise of the aristocratic families and the stabilization of the status of meat eaters after the rise of the aristocratic families. Providing scripture when there is fire is too important. If you want to disintegrate the aristocratic family system and absorb and digest the power of the aristocratic families, it is not enough to just bring them along to play. Seizing the military power of the aristocratic families and mastering the right to interpret the scripture is the top priority. Chen Jing's demon-slaying division was not set up simply to deal with evil demons, but also had political purposes. The wealthy families were definitely unwilling to do this kind of behavior that directly hit the key points. Even though Yang Huayan was the current ruler of the Yang family, the self-revolution was met with many obstacles in the Yang family, and the other three wealthy families were also extremely reluctant. Of course, they were reluctant. Chen Jing had too much advantage, so the wealthy families could only agree to it under pressure like before. But the reality is not playing a game where you can do whatever you want as soon as you change the flag. Solving superficial problems is far from enough. When carrying out tasks, there are often moths. When there are dangerous tasks, they let the cultivators of ordinary families go. When the danger is almost gone, they go themselves. Wearing a layer of demon-slaying division skin does not affect their noble status as children of aristocratic families. This is just a rough outline. The entire demon-slaying division is full of large and small groups, and almost all of them follow this model. The wealthy families in the inner city have one circle, the big families in the county and town have one circle, and the ordinary cultivation families have one circle, and there are circles within the circles. Different branches of the same family form their own groups, and different towns and villages in the same county form their own groups. The larger the circle, the more it bullies the smaller circle. The smaller the circle, the more it will form its own group and bully the smaller ones. In the end, the mountain was formed. Chen Jing could only get things done through these leaders when he gave instructions. It's not that he was sidelined. With just one sentence, everything could be replaced. But there is a problem with this system, and the replacements are still the same. The two schools and one temple that Chen Jing had previously created were directly selected from the bottom of the common people, so naturally there was no small group. This time, they all went for social recruitment and even wanted to take the opportunity to eat up some of the power of some of the wealthy families. They were directly confused by the intricate internal relationships. Of course, although the relationship is messy, in the early stages of the conflict, everything was not obvious, and everything that was given could be done. And because Chen Jing gave generous benefits, everyone had hope, and no irreconcilable conflicts had yet arisen. In this case, Chen Jing has been thinking about solutions. Since the ecosystem has been formed, it cannot be overturned and rebuilt unless it is absolutely necessary. No matter how bad the rules are, they are better than no rules. The first time I took part of the military power of the powerful family by pressing their heads, it was also the one with the least resistance. If it is not done well, it will only add to resistances and make it more difficult. Since the mountain faction has become a foregone conclusion, we can only balance it and let the mountain factions play the role of mutual supervision and healthy competition. Chen Jing drew a relationship diagram. Now the largest mountain is the four powerful families in the inner city. Each of them has a representative of interests as the boss. There is competition among them, but when facing Chen Jing, they are a united group of powerful families. Below is the county and town faction. More than 10 counties can be tied together to resist a powerful family. The weakest is the two schools and one temple faction. Throw it in, and you can't even see a wave. There is also a neutral faction, which is mainly composed of the major vassal cultivation families. They cannot unite, so they are collectively called the neutral faction. No matter which faction gets all the help from the neutral faction, it will immediately become the most powerful faction. After sorting out the big factions inside, the next thing is the art of balance. Chen Jing disagrees with Brother Wu's method of training soldiers. Another point is that this is basically the method of training soldiers for the children of the wealthy families. Maybe it can train the best soldiers, but there is no balance at all, and the referee will directly sit at the table of the wealthy families. The children of the wealthy families are all skilled and have a large base. They can play the trick of a benevolent man cannot command the army. After 2 or 3 rounds, only they can laugh to the end. If this is the case, why should Chen Jing bother? Just disband the demon-slaying division and let the wealthy families continue to perform their duties. Why go to so much trouble to take this responsibility into their hands? The system of the aristocratic families is too limited. There is an upper limit to the level of crisis they can deal with. That's fine. When they really encounter a particularly big crisis, they only care about their own life and death. Chen Jing has some opinions about the wealthy family system. Putting aside rational analysis, from an emotional point of view, he also has opinions. The Fengshan sect black box incident happened just last year. The tree people were very weak in the early stage, and the nobles actively fulfilled their responsibilities. When the tree people became strong, they all became turtles and let the surrounding counties and towns be ravaged. Even in the early stage, they had recruited soldiers from the vassal families and let the monks of the vassal families be cannon fodder. His own grandfather was sent to be cannon fodder. How could Chen Jing not have an opinion? It is reasonable for the nobles to only protect their own family groups, but it is a pity that he, Chen, is not at the same table. Weakening the nobles is what Chen Jing must do. But he must do it reasonably, which can not only weaken the mountain of the nobles' children, but also not affect the overall strength, so as to optimize the organizational structure. At this time, he saw Wu Ziking was going to give Yi Fan a special treatment. Okay. Chen Jing immediately had an idea. Why not set up an elite training group and let the nobles' children go in to experience Wu Ziking's efficient training method? Doing so can get more elite monks, but it will lead to an increase in the mortality rate of the nobles' children. There are benefits to the death of the children of the wealthy families, but he cannot accept that they died for no reason. After all, they are now the main force of the Demon Slayer division, and all the tasks depend on them. Therefore, this part of the backbone of the wealthy families needs someone to take over in time. Before the change, Chen Jing had no choice. After all, the children of the wealthy families have a high realm and many spells, so it is not easy to find a replacement. But with the Battle Tower seeds, the irreplaceability of the children of the wealthy families has decreased. Brother Wu's training method is not considered by ordinary disciples. Most of the people who will consider it are those children of wealthy families who are neither up nor down, and special talents like Yi Fan. It's good. Those children of wealthy families should not be stuck in the middle layer, forming cliques and factions, to block others' channels for promotion. They should all fight for the upper limit. Chen Jing drafted all the relevant drafts about the Pillar Hall. Tomorrow, I will give it to all parties for review, modify it, and then it can be implemented. Chapter 192 New Year. A policy always has to go through a lot from implementation to implementation. It requires the cooperation of other relevant conditions and time to ferment slowly. This is the case with the Pillar Hall of the Demon Slayer department. It is not possible to see the results immediately. However, the seeds planted at the beginning of last year have now shown results, and it is time to harvest. Before entering the door, Chen Jing completed the construction of the Zinzan Agricultural Persuasion Office in order to raise a large amount of funds for the first cycle. Subsequently, it developed rapidly from 1 to more than 10, from nearly 10,000 people to more than 100,000 people today. In addition, the first cross-sect order of the Agricultural Persuasion Office is about to be completed, and the agreed delivery date is in the near future. The second one, the combination of longevity beans plus Deoxiang pigs, is widely praised in the market. Zhengxiu Pavilion spent 1 million spirit stones to buy the exclusive supply of Deoxiang pigs for a year. Now, more than 10 new stores have been added throughout Suzhou, becoming the first in the annual ranking of local catering groups in Suzhou. Seeing that the year is coming to an end, elderly of Zhengxiu Pavilion dug a handful of spirit stones and wanted to buy exclusive supply again. But Chen Jing had to refuse. Because the master has said hello, not only the Deoxiang pig, but also the Piu and Rice Queen, the sect is ready to collect them, and it will definitely not be able to monopolize them in the future. Chen Jing had expected this long ago. It is impossible for the sect not to take action for this kind of product that benefits the entire Suzhou. He has only been developing for a year, and his strength is weak. Whether he can take all the profits depends on how the sect bids. The third flagship product is the Zupo mulberry, which directly triggered an earthquake in the weaving industry. Chen Jing also successfully opened a weaving house in Anning Prefecture. A large number of spiritual plant cultivators changed their careers and transformed from agricultural officials to weaving officials. A steady stream of Zupo silk was produced to meet the weaving needs of local cultivators. In order to maximize profits, he extended the weaving house model to Changchun Prefecture, with local forces injecting funds, Kinmu responsible for management, and making profits together. The current profit is temporarily unknown, but it is estimated that it is probably more than the Piyuan rice queen. Because the queen of Piyuan rice needs Chen Jing to cultivate land, nurture spiritual fields, recruit spiritual cultivators, and cultivate related skills, all from scratch. The Changchun Prefecture weaving house has the support of local weaving nobles, and the manpower, venues, and technology are all mature. This is the so-called foundation. The same weaving house, in Chen Jing's hands, is still working hard for self-sufficiency, but in Changchun Prefecture, it has begun to expand the market. Of course, this kind of thing can't just look at short-term profits. Starting from scratch makes less money, but the advantage is that every link is under your control, and it won't collapse because of some accidents. In Chen Jing's plan, the industry of Anning Prefecture must be controlled in every link. Complete the closed loop in your own base camp, and then expand outward. As for the Changchun Prefecture weaving house and the agricultural persuasion house in charge of Danjian Zenren, they are enclaves in his mind, just a compromise product to obtain short-term profits. Of course, when they grow and develop, these enclaves are frontline bases and powerful tentacles for outward expansion. In addition, there are also two unexpected institutions, the Neti Temple and the Demon Slaying Department. On the surface, the Neti Temple is a crisis warning agency. In fact, its main responsibility is a communication node. The price of the sound GUI is high, and it is not suitable for promotion. Instead, it penetrates into every corner of Anning Prefecture. Temples and priests of all sizes can quickly convey messages to Chen Jing through worship. In addition to the priests, Chen Jing can also receive the prayers of the people. He secretly collected a lot of information and recorded it in a small notebook. 2 institutes, 1 temple, and the demon slaying department are the results of his struggle this year. Unconsciously, after a year, my small goal of food, clothing, housing and transportation is about to be completed. Chen Jing stretched. Looking at the heavy snow outside, a trace of emotion rose in his heart. People here do not celebrate the spring festival. In other words, they do not celebrate the spring festival in a big way, but just celebrate it a little. After a year, only the spring farming festival will be celebrated well. That is the 2nd day of the 2nd month, the period of the sect ceremony. Last time when the sect celebrated a festival, he was envious of the scene of lanterns and bright lights, and hoped to have one in Anning Prefecture. At this time, the idea came again. Yes, I have my own industry, and have changed so many things. It's time to set up a festival that belongs to us. Thinking of this, Chen Jing suddenly became interested. He took out the sound chart and sent messages to a group of people. Not long after, Aing Huayan, Master Yu, Senior Brother Wu, Boss Wang and others arrived one by one. Qin Mu, who did not come, opened the sound chart and held a remote meeting. He conveyed his ideas and everyone pondered. Okay. Aing Huayan replied concisely. Are you going to follow the ceremony of the sect's grand ceremony? It's too difficult to do that. Just see if your department has anything to show for it and celebrate with the people. Chen Jing was only responsible for making a wish. The rest was left to the wise men. Unexpected. The first person to speak was Master Yu. Now Master Yu is the temple priest in the temple. Because Chen Jing's personal hobby of taking the title of chief security consultant did not suit the local environment, no one called him master. I think we can hold a temple fair during the spring festival. A temple fair is good. Chen Jing nodded immediately. The local festival on February 2nd is actually a temple fair. The essence of a temple fair is worshipping gods, entertainment, and trade. However, because the Shintoism in Susao is not popular, there is no worship of gods, but everything else is there. It is not bad to collect a wave of faith. The essence of the statue is a 4th level existence. As the faith increases and the divine power recovers, it can gradually restore its power and become a force independent of Chen Jing and completely under his control. It is a bit difficult to train it specifically, but it is good to raise it at the same time. Chen Jing said, since we are going to hold a temple fair, let's focus on the temple fair. If there are any good festivals in other places, we can just copy one and the local festivals can also be held on a larger scale. Hey, I know. Qin Mu's voice came from the sound channel. In the King Di conference, which is very popular here in Changchun Prefecture, there is a segment where the cultivators produce spiritual fruits on the spot and distribute them to ordinary people. This is not difficult, we can do it too, remember it? Chen Jing nodded, turned around and asked, Brother Wu, is there any way to relieve loneliness outside the domain? Of course there is. It is called the Five Thunders of Heaven, using thunder sound magic, pure yang magic, and releasing it into the air to cleanse evil spirits and correct yin and yang. Oh, this is also good. Arrange for members of the Demon Slayer division to do it. Continuously getting affirmation. Then more and more opinions came. Sell some high-priced materials at a low price, limited quantity. The sect ceremony has a disciple-taking ceremony. Let's also have a wish-making ceremony. How about it? Guess lantern rituals. The temple can prepare some amulets and good luck charms in advance. Ordinary people love to watch magic tricks and acrobatics the most. Chapter 193 New Year. 2nd, Agricultural Persuasion Office. What's going on? Yan Lingxi came out of the house and saw a group of people making a fuss. They were holding red paper and bamboo strips, walking around with smiles on their faces. She lived alone in a courtyard, and she didn't go out to hang out except for working. After half a year, she didn't even have anyone to talk to except Wei Ning. She didn't like to go to the Grand Minister of Agriculture because he always asked her to calm down, but she couldn't calm down and kept asking when she could ascend the throne. It would be great if Wei Ning was here so I could ask what's going on. Sister Lindsay. Just as she thought of Wei Ning's round face appeared at the door, smiling and waving at her. Yan Lingxi blinked and asked, Wei Ning, what's going on outside? The Spring Festival. The Spring Festival? Yan Lingxi became more and more confused. What's wrong with the Spring Festival? It's not the first time she's celebrating it. Sister Lindsay is too withdrawn. You may not know that Mr. Chen said that he would hold a big spring festival and the whole agricultural persuasion office will be busy. Come on. Wei Ning came in with a lot of bags. Don't dirty my yard. I'll help you clean it. Wei Ning ignored Lindsay's complaints. She always felt that Lindsay was a very good person, but a little withdrawn. As for her cold attitude towards people, think about it. She has lived alone with her grandfather in the mountains for so long. What's wrong with being withdrawn? It's just that she is cold on the outside but warm on the inside and has a sharp tongue but a kind heart. Yan Lingxi's forehead was throbbing with veins and she was pulled by the self-familiar Wei Ning to sit on the stone pier. What a disgrace, untouchable, no respect for the king's law, insolent. The contact between her noble buttocks and the rough stone made her almost crazy. Countless scoldings came out of her heart, but she could only hold it in her mouth and force it down. She told herself repeatedly, now she is not the princess of the divine dynasty, but just a farmer in the agricultural persuasion office. She had to be patient until she could make the agricultural promotion institute her own. She took a deep breath. I will come back to ask you for your crime when I succeed. Yan Lingxi, be patient. Wei Ning was completely unaware and said, Sister Lindsay, I'll help you make your lanterns too. Well, why do we have to do this? Tell me what the Spring Festival is about. I don't know. It should be similar to the Spring Plowing Festival, right? But this is something that Lord Chen has instructed us to do, so it must be different. Why? Well, after he had been mumbling for a long time, Wei Ning couldn't come up with an answer, so he forced himself to summarize. Lord Chen must have his reasons. Let's just make it. Look at this lantern painted with red paper. It's so beautiful. Red paper lanterns are only used for new lights. Yes, no wonder it looks festive. Lord Chen said that every street should be hung with red lanterns, and every household should post red paper couplets. What are couplets? Here. Wei Ning took out a booklet and handed it over. I remember that Sister Lindsay's handwriting is very beautiful. This time I came to trouble you to write couplets for us. These were all written by Lord Chen. Oh. He opened the booklet. Yan Lingxi read. The first couplet, smooth sailing every year. The second couplet, everything goes well step by step. The horizontal scroll, auspicious stars shine brightly. The first couplet, wealth rolls in with the arrival of spring. The second couplet, joy comes with blessings. The horizontal scroll, wealth flows in. After reading the first two sentences, she rolled her eyes. It's so vulgar. The words of this Mr. Chen are unbearable to look at. But I think it's really festive. Haha. Yan Lingxi's mouth twitched, and her eyes were helpless. When she thought of copying these vulgar words with her noble hands, she couldn't help but feel sad. I like this. Please ask Sister Lingxi to write this couple in the most beautiful handwriting. Wei Ning took her hand and pointed to one of the paragraphs. Yan Lingxi looked down. The first couplet, intensive cultivation and a good harvest in the year. The second couplet, diligence and thrift in the family for more years. The horizontal scroll, peace and prosperity for the country and the people. Suddenly, the expression on her face became a little unnatural. Looking at the four characters in the couplet, a faint tingling sensation rose from my heart. Careful cultivation, thrifty management. Is it enough for the people to have peace and prosperity? But, Sister Lindsay, what's wrong with you? I'm fine. Yan Lingxi shook her head and turned to the next page. Good weather and good harvest. Peace and prosperity. Full moon and beautiful flowers. What's the use of calling a couplet? Just call it a collection of auspicious words. But for some reason, looking at this plain, simple and vulgar couplet again, the resistance in my heart dissipated a lot. Yan Lingxi took out the pen and ink and began to copy the couplet on the cut red paper. Beside her, Wei Ning wove bamboo strips into exquisite lanterns and pasted them with red paper with the word spring written on it. It took very little time to write 2 pairs of couplets. Afterwards, she made lanterns with Wei Ning. There are many styles of large lanterns, small lanterns, and lantern strings. After they are made, they are directly hung under the eaves, in front of the door lintel, and other places. Afterwards, standing in front of the courtyard gate, she pasted the couplet. Upper couplet, winter is gone, the mountains and rivers are all beautiful. Lower couplet, happiness comes, the peach trees are fragrant. Horizontal banner, good luck in the new year. She didn't want to be too tacky after all, so the couplet she prepared for herself was more refined. Alright. Wei Ning wiped his forehead and looked at the scene with great satisfaction. If you don't know, you would think I'm married. Sister Lindsay must look better when she's married. I'm not getting married. Yan Lingxi didn't want to continue on this topic, so she turned and walked away. Suddenly, she had the idea of going out for a walk. She left the courtyard directly. The streets around the Agricultural Persuasion Institute have completely changed. The streets have been sprinkled with water and cleaned, and they look brand new. On both sides of the road, bamboo poles stand tall, and endless red lanterns sway gently in the breeze, like little flames, flashing warm light in the afterglow of the setting sun. The big trees in the distance are hung with ribbons and red lanterns. In front of every household, there are 2 auspicious couplets with different handwritings, carrying the blessings of the new year. Children chased and played on the streets, their laughter and joy intertwined with the busyness of adults, and the elderly sat on the doorsteps, looking at all this with smiles on their faces. Spring festival, is it like this? Yan Lingxi walked among them, and a certain power in her blood was stimulated. Her mind was dizzy for a moment. Indistinctly, many pictures flashed through her mind. In the distant sky, an extremely huge dragon soared in the clouds and hovered above the sky. The sun and the moon were cleverly held in its mouth, emitting a soft glow. Upon closer inspection, its body was made up of thousands of magnificent palaces and winding streets. The buildings made of scales were staggered in height, with carved beams and painted buildings. The streets paved between the scales were busy with cars and pedestrians. The world is full of prosperity and silence, and the vicissitudes of time are fully revealed. When she came to her senses, she has returned to her own courtyard. The Grand Minister of Agriculture was holding a couplet in his hand, looking at her with satisfaction. Grand Minister of Agriculture? I seem to see Teizu and the Divine Dynasty at that time just now. The great Chen Jing Avenue has taken shape and has condensed the destiny of the people. As the descendant of Teizu, you can naturally control the destiny of the people. With the nourishment of this destiny, you have recovered some of your blood power. The Grand Minister of Agriculture explained. I have also awakened a magical power. Yan Lingxi raised her arm, and dragon scales vaguely appeared on the back of her hand. Her eyes turned into golden vertical pupils, with some kind of superior oppression. Just when she was about to try, the Grand Minister of Agriculture immediately pointed out and suppressed her blood. Once the breath of the real dragon blood is leaked, this place will be barren. You can't use it until you can control the awakened power. Humph. Yan Lingxi was a little aggrieved. How can I control this power? The Grand Minister of Agriculture shook his head and said that he would know when the time comes. He thought that it would be better not to tell the princess, as whether she could control her own power depended on how high Chen Jing could reach. Chapter 194, Sect Envoy. On the Jiachang Mountain, Jushan Peak welcomed the envoy from Wanghe Peak, the lineage of the sect master. Uncle Yangtze, Taoist Yangtze, who was cleaning the main hall, looked over and put down the broom in his hand. At the door, 5 cultivators saluted her. I wonder if Uncle Yunting is here? Brother Yunting is traveling outside the realm. If you have anything to say, just talk to me. Taoist Yangtze said lightly. The 5 people exchanged glances, and the leader nodded. Then discuss it with Uncle Yangtze. I'm King Ming, the 16th seat of the sect's elders council. This time I came here because of a few things in the hands of Chen Jing, the true disciple of Jushan Peak. Well, come and sit down. Taoist Yangtze sat on the futon and filled a pot of tea. The 16th seat of the elders council, the sect master attaches great importance to it, she said with some surprise. The Elders Council belongs to the sect's military affairs office plus imperial guards. The most direct lineage among the direct lineage, the backbone among the backbone. The normal promotion path for a King Nang sect disciple starts from joining the sect and first worshipping a hall of interest to learn the 100 arts magic, such as the Spirit Beast Hall and the Alchemy Hall, where you can learn magic and earn contribution points. Then you go out to become a master. There are 2 types of masters. One is to give up the status of a sect disciple, leave the sect, and return to your hometown to start a business. The other is to be talented and promoted to the 4th level of the Shenzang realm. At this time, the master is promoted to the elder of the sect. There are also 2 types of elders. One type is like Elder 2 of the Spirit Beast Hall and Taoist King of the Chu Hall, who become the elder of a hall and take the share of the elders of this hall and become a shareholder from a disciple. The second type is the Elder Council. The Elder Council does not divide halls or peaks, and only the sect master has the right to dispatch them. Only the most elite and most potential Shenzang realm masters are qualified to join the Elder Council, get a large amount of resource supply, and participate in the decision making of major events of the sect. There are many benefits to joining the Elder Council. There is nothing to do on weekdays, but you are also at the forefront when something goes wrong. The last time the Council of Elders was dispatched, it was the Fengshan sect's secret box, and they were ambushed by the Fengshan sect and suffered heavy losses. There is also a 3rd type of elder, the Supreme Elder. This is a position exclusively for the true transmission. When the true transmission is promoted to the divine treasure, no matter what the situation is, it is always the Supreme Elder, belonging to the Elders Council of each peak. The spiritual rice yield of 10,000 katis per mu is naturally valued, not to mention that Chen Zhenchuan is a natural talent, and he will definitely be a pillar of the sect in the future. King Ming smiled. He came on behalf of the Council of Elders, and the importance behind him was very obvious. No matter what, we must not treat the true transmission of our peak unfairly. Uncle Master, don't worry. Since the founding of the Dao Palace and the reform of the sect, only Chen Jing and Li Wendao have made outstanding contributions. The sect master and the Council of Elders want to reward these 2 people greatly. Wait and see. Not long after, Chen Jing, who received the message, came over, greeted and introduced each other, and then began to negotiate the terms. The Council of Elders means that the 3 new spiritual plants, the Queen of Pio and Rice, the Snow Mulberry, and the Longevity Fruit, should be collected and promoted throughout the sect. What do you think of the true transmission? I generally agree, but I want to know how to collect them. The seeds can be supplied to the Chu Hall of each peak. These seeds are produced by my personal holy way and can only be passed down for 3 generations. It may not be possible to sell them all out. Oh. King Ming frowned immediately. In this case, the value of your spiritual plants will be a little small. I don't mean to offend you, but the sect must consider that if something happens to you, and the sect has already fully promoted your spiritual plants, how will it deal with it? That's indeed the truth. Chen Jing nodded. Hybridization makes success and failure also makes hybridization. He knows that he must control the entire industry chain and every link in his hands to avoid a link falling and the whole chain collapsing. The Council of Elders is full of elites, and they must understand this truth. The sect will still want to increase the price of these 3 types of Tao seeds, but the price will have to be raised just 1 level higher than the original price. The main business will be in this area, and the quota will be handed over to the private chamber of commerce. His meaning was very clear. The sect would rather not have this benefit, but it would not be able to bear this risk. The same is true for handing over the seeds to private capital to operate, and the risk is transferred to private capital to bear. The price increases to protect the survival space of the original products. Chen Jing's products completely beat the original products to death. If the price is not raised, even if the sect does not want to promote them in an all-round way, the market will automatically promote them in an all-round way. These 3 spiritual plants of the true transmission will definitely not sell as well as before after the price increase. I will think of a way for the true transmission. The sect will help you make connections. I heard that you have also connected with the Wei family. This is very good. Selling to the outside sect, what do you think? The elder is right. Chen Jing nodded. There is nothing wrong with this plan. The price increase has affected his business, but it will find him a buyer. Ahem. At this time, Taoist Yangtze, who was listening, coughed. Oh, right. Elder King Ming took a sip of tea and said with a smile, I forgot to mention the reward. The sect must not take the benefits of the true transmission for nothing. From now on, the Queen of Piu and rice can be exempted from export taxes for transactions with the outside sect in the name of the true transmission. Chen Jing was not moved for the time being, because there was no export tax in the first place, as long as it was not sensitive high-level things flowing out. Most export transactions would only collect a symbolic amount. This is just one of the reasons. The second one needs to be discussed together with the following matters. Oh. The sect plans to build 2 Wantang houses that connect Anning Mansion directly to other mansions. One belongs to the sect and the other belongs to you. After you agree, start construction immediately. Don't let the true transmission pay a penny. As soon as these words came out, Chen Jing immediately felt that this smiling elder king was amiable. Are you serious? Of course I'm serious. Chen Jing thought. He needed to pay 2 things. First, pay the direct sales income of the 3 hybrids. Because the sect asked him to raise the price, he would lose some market share, but he could make up for it through export, and the profit from export is greater. From the perspective of making money, he didn't lose much, but it was not conducive to his continued expansion with the combination of the Agricultural Persuasion Office. Second, the long-term profit from the sale of seeds. The sect exchanged the long-term profit of a Wantang house for a long-term profit, which is a long-term profit. The Wantang house just made up for Chen Jing's food, clothing, housing and transportation, and it was more important to make up for the shortcomings. In general, these transactions are not a loss, but the problem is, he came to collect the reward. Where are the promised benefits? They are all transactions. Chen Jing came back to his senses. What about the subsequent maintenance costs of the Wantang house? He asked. The true disciple needs to bear it himself. The sect will bear it for 10 years. Chen Jing shook his head. Elder Yangtze said unhappily. How can 10 years be enough? 50 years. Hey, 10 years. No, 15 years. It really can't be more. Elder Kingman quickly agreed and smiled bitterly in his heart. He was beaten for a little show, which is really protecting his calf. In addition, the business that Chen Jing and Wei have negotiated also includes 2 6th grade core spells of the beehive. Don't play dumb. Taoist Yangtze said lightly. Of course, Uncle Master, don't worry. Elder Kingming nodded repeatedly. Chen Jing's deal with Wei Shao has 2 levels. One is about the purchase of the PU and Rice Queen, and the other is to trade on behalf of the forces behind each other. King Nang sect allowed Wei Ershao to start construction outside the market and develop more industries. Wei Ershao also had to hand over chips that would satisfy the sect. Originally, King Nang sect did not have much hope in this regard. It was more about putting pressure on the serious Yunshang sect envoys by giving Wei Ershao, "You don't want to talk. If you don't want to talk, I will talk to one of your masters alone." The result is very gratifying. Wei Ershao was happy, so he sold his teammates, and even gave to key 6th grade Taoist spells, selling his teammates to nothing. The King Nang sect not only got what it wanted on this clause, but also helped the Yunshang sect envoy break through the defense and get more benefits later. It is reasonable to reward Chen Jing. Does the true teaching know the King Nang cave heaven? Elder King Ming subconsciously lowered his voice. Chen Jing looked at Taoist Yunxi and saw that she slightly widened her eyes. My Suzhou originally had some natural cave heavens, but later for various reasons, they either disappeared or were refined, leaving only the last King Nang cave heaven. But even if there is only this one, it can ensure the continuity of our sect's inheritance. Elder King Ming explained. There is an opportunity to break through to the cave heaven realm. Even if there is no special gain, it can accumulate the foundation needed for the cave heaven realm. Taoist Yunxi nodded. Is there anything taboo? It seems that you are very secretive. Chen Jing was puzzled. Even if it is a treasure mountain, it cannot withstand being dug every day. It is the life-saving thing for the sect in times of crisis, and it is also the confidence of the sect when facing choices. It will not be opened lightly, unless it is absolutely necessary, and it is strictly forbidden to talk about this matter on weekdays. However, the elders and the sect master agree that now is the time of great changes, and it is appropriate to open the King Nang cave heaven to benefit the disciples. Let the young disciples go. Only those who have both talent and merit can get this qualification. Currently, only Li Wendao and Chen Jing are selected for the time being. Listening to the earnest words of Elder King Ming, and then looking at Elder Yunxi who nodded gently, Chen Jing understood and said, "Thank you for the cultivation of the sect. Uncle Yunting should be back by then, and he will personally bring the true teachings." After saying that, Elder King Ming took out a black flower bud from his arms before leaving. When the flower bud was taken out, the flower bud trembled slightly, slowly bloomed, and a pure black palm-sized flower bloomed. The black flower bloomed to the extreme, gradually became flat, and turned into an invitation. This sect ceremony is different from the past. Because of the covenant, the Netherworld will hold an auction in the King Nang sect. There will be many good things. This is the invitation. Please keep it. Elder King Ming handed the black invitation to Chen Jing. After Chen Jing took it, he glanced at the content and nodded. "Thank you, Elder King." The invitation also turned into a black flower again, and grew back to the shape of a flower bud. He was amazed. What kind of magic is this? Why can't I understand it? Haha, don't ask me, I don't understand it either. The Netherworld is a real big force spanning several states, and its Taoism is very mysterious. Chapter 195, Luck Spell. After bidding farewell to Elder Yunxi, Chen Jing came to the towering cliff and took out a small paper crane from the storage magic tool. He injected magic power. The paper crane swelled in the wind and could accommodate one person to ride on it. Chen Jing stepped on the flat back of the paper crane, which sank slightly, then flapped its wings vigorously, carrying him away slowly. He flew all the way to the den hall of the third senior sister Yan Jinrao. For some reason, other places were like spring all year round, but here it was cold and snowy. He was curious and flew over. "Junior brother, you are so leisurely and elegant, and you still have time to sit here?" Yan Jinrao's voice penetrated the cold air. He looked down. The door of the house was open, and Yang Jinrao leaned against the door frame, like a lonely winter plum blossom blooming in the wind and snow. The black gauze cloak covered her figure, and the sunlight reflected from the white snow on the ground. The pair of arms hugging her chest seemed to be a little whiter. "Senior Sister Yan." Chen Jing jumped off the paper crane and said, "I have come here without realizing it. Come here first." Yan Jinrao waved her hand, her beautiful eyes full of curiosity. When Chen Jing approached, she moved closer, as if she was sniffing something. "Senior sister?" The head with grey silver hair was buried in her chest. One could still smell the scent of spiritual plants and precious medicines on her body. Yanjin Reo suddenly raised her head and their eyes met. She smiled and said, "The smell on you smells a bit familiar." "Ah, what smell?" "My own smell. Did you secretly take my clothes? Where can I get them?" Huh. Yanjin Reo suddenly took 2 steps back and said with a smile, "You want it? Just ask me. You don't have to tell me what you are going to do with it. If I had implanted a perverted Taoist seed, I might have done it." Chen Jing said, "Sister, you are joking. Come in first." Yanjin Reo said, "I often stay in the cave and don't move. I heard that it is snowing heavily outside. I wanted to know what it looks like, so I asked Master to make snow. Although Master was not there, Elder Yangtze still agreed to my willful request. I heard that people outside can make snow lions. Can you do it, junior brother?" "I haven't made one, but it's not difficult. Will it be a hindrance?" "No, I'm free." Chen Jing rolled up his sleeves and said, "I see that there are only 2 snow lions missing in your yard." He squatted down and started working. As a southerner, he actually likes to make snowmen. First, roll out a snowball, then roll out a smaller one, stack the 2 snowballs together, insert branches as arms, and make facial features, and a snowman is made. Yanjin Reo blinked. "Is this called a snow lion?" "The snow lion has gained weight, so it's reasonable for him to sit here and rest." Chen Jing argued. "Then I want one that's not fat." "No problem." Chen Jing selected the best snow this time, piled it up, and squeezed it into a long strip, and then began to carve it out carefully. First, determine the proportions, then outline the curves, and then perfect the details. After a lot of careful carving, a snowman Luo Xianai was completed. Yanjin Reo smiled, hugged her arms, and didn't say anything, waiting for him to quibble. "This is called a snow lion eating grass." "Where's the grass?" "Ask the snow lion first." "Where's the snow lion?" "Eating grass." "Where's the grass?" "The snow lion ate it all." So the snow lion left, and this girl came over? Senior sister is so smart. Chen Jing shook off the snow residue on her hand and said, "Senior sister, why are you just watching? Come on, let's do it together." "Okay." Yanjin Reo took advantage of Chen Jing's inattention and quietly used magic to condense the snow. In this way, all he had to do was carefully carve it. At the other end, Chen Jing had just finished a husky and thought of a husky story. When he looked back, a majestic snow dragon appeared behind him. Immediately, he gave the highest praise a man could give. "Fuck." He circled around the snow dragon, feeling very envious. He said sourly, "Not bad. Senior sister's work is only slightly inferior to my swallowing heaven second. Junior brother, come, I'll leave the last stroke to you." Yanjin Reo smiled and pointed to the dragon's head. Only the dragon's eyes were not yet finished. The finishing touch. Chen Jing walked over immediately. The temptation to finish the last stroke was imminent. He picked up a branch and casually drew a circle. He had a magic weapon that could transform into a black dragon as a mount, and the eyeballs looked quite realistic. However, when he was halfway through the painting, the tip of the brush felt a certain attraction, and he continued to paint uncontrollably along some mysterious patterns. Chen Jing's eyes were stained with a layer of golden light, alternating with the dragon's eyes, and he looked at the entire Anning mansion from a bird's eye view. Lanterns, couplets, red robes, and red fire everywhere. Everyone was in high spirits. Yanjin Reo's gentle voice rang in his ears. "The aura on you should be the aura of people's luck and fortune. It's very good. You have done a lot in just 1 year. Senior sister, it's me. I happen to know some methods of the power of luck. What you see and hear now is the true dragon vision technique. In your territory, you can see through most spells and spiritual power changes, and you can also overlook the mountains and rivers like this." "Huh? What did you see?" "You saw a lot of things. This method must be assisted by the power of luck before it can be used. You are not proficient in the use of the power of luck. Don't use it rashly. Some things, once you see them, will be troublesome." A gentle voice brushed past his ears. The scenery in front of him also disappeared. Yanjin Reo's smiling face appeared in his sight. In a trance, he seemed to see the person in front of him turned into a green dragon. The illusion disappeared in an instant. However, what he was more concerned about was, at a certain location in Anning Mansion, it seemed that a golden dragon shadow was seen. Looking carefully, there was nothing. What does that mean? Can I dig up treasure? Chen Jing decided to take some time to go and have a look. After building the snowman, Yang Jinrao asked Chen Jing to stay for dinner. As long as the alchemy skills were not bad, the cooking would be delicious. A big meal. Chen Jing's mood improved. How is it? Are you in a better mood? Senior sister noticed. You only come to chat with me when you are in a good mood or a bad mood. Actually, I'm not in a bad mood. Chen Jing hesitated for a while and told me what happened today. Although the communication with the Qingming Elders Council was very harmonious, but after careful consideration, it is not difficult to find that his development has been limited. The three major products exchanged for more substantial things. Only one Wantang Fang, although it made up for his shortcomings, but also wiped out his strengths. From now on, the three major products are no longer exclusive, and the forces that rely on the products will naturally be affected. If Chen Jing does not have new means, the development of the Agricultural Persuasion Institute and the Weaving Institute will have to slow down. He can understand that the rules work like this. The sect founded the academy and vigorously developed the Taoist method, not to make a certain person take off, but to make everyone take off together. He, Chen, contributed his own unique skills. But in the same way, he also got the new version of Wantang Fang, the result of Li Wendao's Taoist method. It's just that the momentum of taking off was interrupted, and it's inevitable that he needs to digest it for a while. This may not be a good opportunity, Yan Lingxi said. What opportunity? A good opportunity for me to take advantage of the opportunity. We are not empty. Yan Jinrao held his cheek with the back of his hand and said, Junior brother, why don't you let your weaving house grow some spiritual medicines, and we will work together to establish an elixir house? Why do you want to set up an industry outside? Chen Jing was surprised. In his eyes, senior sister Yan was a stubborn homegirl who would never involve the outside world unless necessary. I just don't want junior brother to be depressed. Yan Jinrao smiled. It's not that he is depressed. Chen Jing shook his head and said, thank you for your kindness, senior sister. However, if you really want to open a medicine shop, you will suffer a great loss. The pills are expensive and only a few can afford them. Is an alchemist so inconvenient? Besides, if you don't set up the 4 departments of pills, instruments, talismans, and beast taming, the 4 major families in a Ning mansion have always been distant from you. Since you can't make progress outside for the time being, you might as well make up for your shortcomings. Otherwise you will come up with something interesting next time, and can only sigh dejectedly when the sect takes it away. He said that he would not be so depressed. Chen Jing resisted the urge to complain. But, what if senior sister suffers a loss? If you refuse me again, don't come back after you leave this door. No problem, I'll do it when I get back. That's better. Yan Jinrao, who pretended to be angry, returned to her gentle appearance. I'm still the same. I won't leave Jushan Peak Cave Heaven. Just tell me all the difficulties I can solve, and I'll help you solve all the troubles, okay? Of course I can. How do you calculate this? If there is a profit, it will be credited to you. I'll take it when I remember it. If there is a loss, it will be credited to me. I still have a lot of savings. Is this a rich woman? Great. Chen Jing didn't mention it anymore and continued to chat. Most of the time, he was talking, and Yang Jinrao listened quietly beside him, listening to all kinds of trivial things happening in Anning Mansion. In a blink of an eye, the spring festival has arrived. In the streets and alleys, gongs and drums were loud, and the lion dance team shuttled through the crowd, with colorful silk flying and cymbals shining. The vendors carried their burdens and sold candied haws and various New Year goods. The sweetness of the candies and the colorful oil paper umbrellas were intertwined, outlining a lively picture. Chen Jing looked at this scene, and a faint golden light appeared in his eyes. It seemed that he saw this so-called luck. He didn't know at this time that a dragon girl was secretly taking advantage of his luck and awakening her bloodline supernatural power. He only knew that his brain had been working very well recently. With the official start of the spring festival, he could enter a state of enlightenment from time to time. Inspirations kept emerging in his mind, and all kinds of wonderful methods emerged in his mind one by one. This state was only briefly available when he opened the wind spirit moon shadow. But he didn't do anything, but he was always in this state, as if the Tao was chasing him to feed him. New Tao feedback? The only explanation Chen Jing could find was that his Tao finally produced new feedback. Because it was different from before, he was not sure. Before, it was mana +1, mana +1, divine consciousness +1, divine consciousness +1. Recently, it became comprehension +1, comprehension +1, cultivation +1, cultivation +1. The Tao flower was in a state where it could condense at any time, and as long as he sorted out his thoughts, he could derive the law and technique and turn it into a law of inheritance. Chapter 196. Demons enter the city. Anning Mansion. On January 1st, the Spring Festival arrived as scheduled. Boom at dawn. A loud noise woke up everyone inside and outside the mansion. Oh, what the hell? In a room in the restaurant, a fat businessman fell off the bed, and then his panicked round face appeared under the table. Hearing his scream, a servant quickly came outside the door and explained through the door. Sir, this is our Spring Festival celebration, called firecrackers. Damn it, I come to Anning Mansion to do business every year. Why haven't I heard of it before? The door was pushed open with a bang, and the disheveled fat businessman cursed. Many guests came out of the room, not caring about their appearance, and went out to watch the excitement. When the crowd came to the street, they saw the sky rumbling, and bright objects rose into the air and exploded, turning into light rain. There were also things on the ground crackling and exploding, emitting pungent green smoke. Is this firecrackers? The fat businessman asked, waving his hand to drive away the green smoke. On the day of the 3 yuans, people get up at the crowing of cocks and set off firecrackers in the courtyard to avoid the evil spirits of the mountain. The reason why it is called firecrackers is that the sound is similar to the sound of bamboo burning and exploding. The person setting off firecrackers laughed. He was wearing the clothes of a priest, mainly black and white. Behind him was a tripod representing the King Nang sect, and on his chest, the heart position, there was a Wi-Fi icon. The cuffs were painted with cloud patterns, and the black boots were shaped like evil beasts, meaning to enter the netherworld and reach the ears of the heavens. The ceremonies related to the Spring Festival were all held by the priests of the temple. Can this thing also avoid ghosts? That's right, this firecracker is a thunder and fire talisman. If you have cultivation, you can see it by looking at the air. After the firecrackers are burned, the masculine and righteous energy of heaven and earth are full. Ordinary evil demons and ghosts will be wiped out with a sniff. The priest said proudly. As monks of the temple system, they don't need to practice magic, they only need to study how to use talismans. In order to ensure the smooth conduct of the Spring Festival, many talismans were added to the temple, and the thunder and fire talisman that served as firecrackers was just one of them. The original priests had little presence, and their welfare and treatment were not the best among Chen Jing's direct industries. After the Demon Slayer department came out, it was directly reduced to an intelligence department. Now that the Spring Festival is coming, it will be a highlight, and I feel proud. Can this firecracker be sold? The fat businessman was immediately tempted. They didn't know about the expansion of Shinelan. They only knew that after the rebellion of Fengshan sect, they had a year of peace and quiet, and then they started to make trouble everywhere again. The gloomy places began to be haunted, and the beasts that were easy to deal with on the road suddenly grew a whole circle and turned into demons. There were also some evil cultivators who were bewitched by the whispers and practiced evil methods. As a businessman, he really suffered a lot. Not long ago, he encountered an evil demon who could peel skin and lost 2 trucks of goods. Firecrackers need to be used throughout the city for the best effect. Using them alone can only temporarily scare away evil spirits. When the temple fair officially begins, go to the temple to pray for blessings and ask for a talisman. There are 3 types of talismans, guaranteed to be effective. After the priest said this, he bowed and said goodbye. He walked to the other end of the street. He raised his hand and sprinkled a piece of talismans, which crackled on the ground. You know what? It's so magical. The fat businessman turned around and shouted, which brother knows when this temple fair will start? Sishi. That is 9 o'clock. It's so late, it's already bright in the sky. The fat businessman was surprised. People from other places don't know, right? Lord Chen's rule is this. He doesn't use the 12 hours, but 1 to 24 o'clock, called 9 to 5, work and leave on time. Is there such a thing? The fat businessman was more interested in the new things here. For now, in his impression, this Lord Chen is a man with a generous personality. Business people love generous people the most. Back to the hotel, call your confidants. Then he came to a room, and the joy on his face faded a little. A pale young man was lying on the bed, and it was his son. When he encountered the skinning demon, his son was frightened by the demon, and has not recovered yet. Can you still walk? Father, my son, I suddenly feel a little unwell. Then take a rest. I will go out and get you a talisman. On the other side, Yifan was wearing armor and a cloak. His feet were stuck in the snow, and he was wandering outside the city of Anning Prefecture. Hey, do you regret it? The tall and thin teammate in front suddenly spoke. What regrets? All the colleagues in the Demon Slayer division are on vacation, and we who have joined the Pillar Hall have to patrol everywhere. Look, there are firecrackers inside. It must be very lively. The tall and thin teammate said. Yifan said calmly, you are the one who regrets it, and you are asking me. Alas, I didn't know that we couldn't even have a day off. I had already made an appointment with my lover to visit the temple fair. Yifan, did your love make an appointment with you? Someone made an appointment. The image of wedding appeared in his mind. We are both miserable people. The teammates were complaining. Suddenly, the two looked in the same direction at the same time. Their faces became serious. They looked at each other. Each of them took out a talisman to activate it. Yifan took out the early warning talisman produced by the temple. When the talisman is activated, the nearest priest will receive a message and issue a first level early warning notice to other members of the Demon Slayer division in the surrounding area. The tall and thin teammates took out a detection talisman, which can sense negative spiritual power. The evil spirits with negative attributes such as evil spirits, resentment, blood, etc. in the surrounding area can all be detected. Something happened. The tall and thin teammate's eyes condensed. Are you going? Go, take the escaping talisman. Be careful of ambushes. The two kept a supporting distance, constantly observed with the key watching technique, and carefully went to the unusual place. Ahead. Soon, Yifan saw a piece of snow that had melted and was soaked with blood. Found it. With so much blood, I hope it's not a human. Unfortunately, when the two got closer, they saw a human body that had been skinned and beheaded. Owl-headed demon. Skinning demon. The two said a term each, looked at each other, and were a little surprised. There are now 3 extremely vicious demons on the list in the Demon Slayer department. Among them, the owl-headed demon has killed many disciples of the Demon Slayer department. The remaining thoughts have been made into nightmares, which Yifan has experienced. The skinning demon is a recently appeared demon that will peel off the skin of the victim. Then, a priest rushed here, and his face changed slightly after seeing the corpse. The two of you protect me. I will go to the nightmare world to see if there are any remaining clues. The priest sat down and sank into a dream. Wherever you go, you will leave traces. This world is multi-dimensional but integrated. Traces that cannot be seen in Jinuzhou may become very clear from the perspective of the outer domain. They track down many hidden evil demons in this way. Not long after, the priest woke up. A blue god appeared in his hand, and when he opened his eyes, he showed an anxious look. Oh no, the evil demons have sneaked into the outer city. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Enlightenment. Skinning, beheading, seizing the heart. This Chen Zhenchuan seems to be a little bad. In the Zhengxiu pavilion, the second young master Wei, who was having a meal, used a delicate brocade handkerchief to meticulously wipe the oil stains on his mouth. He was also celebrating the new year in Anning Mansion at this time. Outside the window was the fireworks, and the lively noise of the people downstairs also reached his ears. The more prosperous people's hearts are, the more they are afraid of demons and monsters. This is a calamity, Chen Jing's calamity. The second young master Wendy slowly walked to the windowsill, supported his body with his elbows, leaned down and looked down, with a comfortable look, as if waiting for a good show. Second young master, there have been demons and monsters emerging in Susao recently, and the ghost den is layered. The master means that I hope you will not do such things again. It is best to take this opportunity to renegotiate the business with Chen Jing. The speaker was an expressionless man. He didn't know when he suddenly appeared here and left these words in a stiff tone. The second young master when he frowned slightly. Is the old man so worried that he asked you to keep an eye on me all the time? The clan has taken a lot of pressure because of the beehive. Oh. The second young master when he raised his eyebrows nonchalantly and said lightly, people have to follow the rules and follow the procedures to get a good ending, right? Do you think I look like a human? The second young master when he turned around and sat next to the man in an instant. One hand gently placed on the man's head and rubbed it slowly. It was like wiping a glass cup. Second young master. Don't be afraid. If you are afraid, it means that I, Wei Yuan, am not a human being. The second young master when his voice was like a cold wind. The man swallowed his saliva, and the magic power he had cultivated for decades was directly frozen into ice in his body. The second young master's terrifying magic power turned into invisible filaments, cutting into his flesh and blood. With just a slight pull, he could turn him into neat pieces of meat. But he didn't dare to show any expression. He could only curse, and those who cursed the Wei family were all crazy. For a long time. Second young master Wei patted his shoulder. Very good. It seems that you still treat me, Wei, as a person, so I might as well say a few more words to you. The negotiation between Yunshang sect and Qingnang sect is about the collective interests of each family. Sooner or later, this interest will be sold by one family first. Each family is ready to sell it, and before that, I sold it first. Do you think I broke the rules? No, it's because they look down on me. I, Wei Yuan, am the second young master, not the eldest young master. Anyone can sell it, but I can't. I'm not qualified. The man was sweating coldly. Second young master, I'm just following the master's orders. Did you listen to my words in vain? This has nothing to do with the orders of the patriarch. It's you. Do you regard this young master as a qualified person? He wanted to cry. How did he get involved in the fight between the eldest and second young masters? Don't panic. I haven't decided whether to add more money. You are right. The situation of Qingnang sect is not right now. It's better to slow down and wait and see what happens during the spring festival. Thank you, second young master. The man was as if he had been pardoned and decided not to talk nonsense next time. If the second young master is willing to continue selling his teammates, then he can sell them. He has to think about his own life. That's right, be a good boy. Second young master when he smiled, stood up, returned to the window, opened his arms, and felt the breath of the outside world. Are you also fighting for the crossing? Let me see how much you are worth. Qua County. Yan Lingxi paced left and right, unable to hide his anxiety, and finally came to the small courtyard of the Grand Minister of Agriculture. This great man in the transcendent state devoted himself to tending flowers and plants, and looked no different from an ordinary farmer. Grand Minister of Agriculture, there is something abnormal in me. Tribulation. What tribulation? Before the Divine Dynasty, cultivators had to overcome the tribulation of heavenly thunder to break through. Since the Divine Dynasty, although there is no heavenly tribulation, there are constant small tribulations. This is the feeling of the great Dao, and it is inevitable. I didn't break through. Yan Lingxi became more and more irritable. It's not your highness, but Chen Jing. He wants to condense the Dao flower. What does his condensation of the Dao flower have to do with me? Your highness borrowed his luck and naturally resonated with his Dao. If he can't survive this tribulation, the luck will backfire, and your highness will also be affected. The true dragon bloodline senses that a tribulation is coming, and warns in advance, so he will feel anxious and uneasy. After hearing this, Yan Lingxi couldn't help but remain silent, obviously realizing that his achievements were actually tied to Chen Jing. He can't get into trouble now. This sentence was beyond the expectations of the Grand Minister of Agriculture. He thought Yan Lingxi would definitely lose his temper, but he didn't expect that he not only suppressed his temper, but also analyzed rationally. The attraction of luck to the Tezu bloodline is indeed extraordinary. The Grand Minister of Agriculture nodded and said with relief, "Go, help him achieve enlightenment." Along with the undercurrent in the shadows, the Spring Festival was in full swing. Chen Jing was in the largest temple in the inner city of the prefecture. From the beginning of the Spring Festival, he entered a strange state of enlightenment, just like when he had just broken through the mysterious seal and touched the great Dao itself. However, the last time he touched the Dao, he intercepted a mark from the boundless Dao Sea. This time, it was to expand that mark. And outside the mark, several blurred images appeared in front of him for him to describe. Chen Jing recognized those images. They were the gods seen when the 9 orifices saw the gods. The great Dao is invisible, but because the people who have realized the Dao are not perfect and have defects, the Dao they see is also incomplete. Therefore, the Dao has a concrete image. When seeing the gods, the 3 gods of essence, energy, and spirit are from the Dao, which are the projections of one side of the great Dao. Chen Jing expanded and deduced his own bottom line method. In the early stage, he could follow the god to reduce the difficulty, to open up the path of cultivation for ordinary people. This is Dao Yi. The nothingness under his feet turned into an empty and barren soil. Suddenly, green sprouts emerged from the soil. It was his thick soil vision, and it was also Dao Shen Yi. As far as he could see, the most eye-catching images of the 3 gods of essence, energy, and spirit occupied his vision. At the same time, the wishes of the people who were worshipping in the temple were constantly ringing. Make a fortune next year. I really want to have a wife, and she must be beautiful. I want to be promoted to a farmer as soon as possible, and buy more land. Most of them were such New Year's wishes. Chen Jing slowly shook his head and gave up listening to this part of the wishes. Those who want to get rich, marry a wife, get promoted, work hard. How far you go is your own business and has nothing to do with my Dao. The most and noisiest voices disappeared. Chen Jing's eyes sank to the bottom, listening to those voices that were suppressed, silent, and difficult to hear. The wishes of the world were completely different from what he imagined. Not only did they want more, but many people were grateful for what they already had. The cold avoiding talisman from the temple saved my family. I wish Master Chen a long life and immortality. I was elected as an agricultural official. There is food at home, and my grandma doesn't have to die. Thank you Master Chen for fulfilling my dream of studying. The 2 schools, 1 temple, and 1 department not only affect those who join, but also the families behind them. These families who have walked out of difficulties have helped more people invisibly. These 4 organizations have taken shape, and under the influence of radiation, they have improved people's food, clothing, housing, and transportation, and opened up channels for upward mobility. This is the bottom line task of Dao Yi, which can be further improved, but it is only improvement. No matter how hard you try, it is only incremental, and it cannot change qualitatively. Chen Jing then understood his focus. Dao needs to guarantee the bottom of Dao Yi. Chapter 198 Thick Earth Dao Flower, the development of laws and techniques. 2 schools, 1 temple, and 1 department solved the problem of becoming a cultivator, but the problems can never be solved completely. Becoming a cultivator will naturally face the problems of becoming a cultivator. Among them, the 2 schools that were established the earliest, nor the temples in the middle, had the most serious problems. Instead, it was the Demon Slayer department that was established the latest. After all, the Demon Slayer department was an unplanned product. It was hastily established and unprepared. The remaining problems can only be alleviated for the time being, but cannot be eradicated. For example, the Pillar Hall was just a temporary solution, which can only alleviate the contradictions. The root of the contradiction lies in the fact that the disciples of the wealthy families have accumulated for thousands of years. As the greatest strength of the Demon Slayer department, Chen Jing has to do things through them. He has newly developed 3 types of combat Tao seeds, which can make up for the lack of some of the foundation of ordinary disciples. But these 3 combat Tao seeds also enhance the disciples of the wealthy families, and cannot solve the root problems. The difference in cultivation resources between each other is too great. The starting gap between the 2 must be not so large. So, Chen Jing began to protect the bottom line. On the thick soil, transformed by the 9-colored mysterious seal, a Taoist shadow that seemed to be a god gradually condensed. The ordinary disciples are short of deep mana. When the disciples of the wealthy families take drugs and their mana increases rapidly, the ordinary disciples can only rely on 3 ordinary spiritual meals a day. It is better to take Tinninghua pills to increase their mana. It is also short of enough time. Ordinary disciples have to work every day and can only choose one strength to move forward, while the disciples of the wealthy families are off work and have more time to make up for their shortcomings. Even worse is that the spells are not strong enough. In the past, I was invincible in the Clouds and Mists illusionary sky technique, and the Clouds and Mists illusionary sky technique was not of high grade. If the opponent was a disciple of the wealthy family at the same level, I would have been defeated long ago. Mana defects, shortcomings, spell defects. Chen Jingming realized his own way to guarantee his safety. He thought of the relevant spells he had studied and refined his ability to see the gods. Not long after, one of the abilities to see the gods, the incarnation of the divine consciousness. After being refined, the shadow of the Tao gradually became clear, turning into a figure with a blurred face, but full of heroic spirit. The Tao flower tuck shape. My Dao has now derived a method called the assisting battle method, which has 2 techniques, the I come to help you technique and the you come to help me technique. In the city, the fat merchant looked pale, looking at the scene in front of him in disbelief. When he stepped into his son's room with the amulet he had obtained from the temple, his son suddenly let out a shrill scream. Then, his son's skin cracked and melted bit by bit, and the creepy black and red rotten muscles were exposed to the air from under the skin. My son, what happened to you? Your son has been dead for a long time. Damn old thing, you actually made me reveal my true form. If it weren't for the roar of the whole city today, and the pure Yang Thunder aura, I would have killed you, peeled off your skin, and become this wealthy merchant for you. The skinless monster transformed by his son rolled hideously, and screamed in pain under the golden light of the amulet. No, impossible. Go to hell. Boom, the door panel exploded, and Yi Fan's figure appeared at the door. A seal of breaking evil fell on the skinless monster, repelling it. At the window on the other side, the tall and thin teammate held a spear in his hand, and the whole person turned into a violent whirlwind, broke through the window, and knocked the monster away. Then the two fought in a group. Fortunately, we arrived in time, otherwise someone else would have been killed. The priest holding the blue gourd wiped his sweat, and took the fat businessman away. There was a roar behind him. This official is cruel, Yi Fan. Hurry. There were several bangs. Yi Fan urged his portable magic weapon, a black tripod, and took advantage of the skinless monster being suppressed to slam it on the monster's head. It's useless, it can't stop me. The skinless monster slapped the black tripod away with his backhand, grabbed the tall and thin teammate's spear, and broke it abruptly, rushed over, pressed it under him, and bit his throat. Ding, a tough, metal-like bark appeared on the neck of the tall and thin teammate, knocking off the teeth of the skinless monster. Bang! Yi Fan rushed forward, not caring about controlling the object, and only used his magic power to push the monster away. Damn, it's a good thing I implanted the copper skin Taoist seed. The tall and thin teammate was terrified. The two dared not continue to attack, and confronted the skinless monster. The skinless monster twisted his head and grinned. Okay, wait, next time we meet, I can take off your heads. He's going to run. But I saw it, but I couldn't stop him. At this moment, a deep shout accompanied by drum beats sounded. I'll help you. Yi Fan and the others were slightly stunned, but saw the talismans they carried automatically emerge, and a figure composed of divine consciousness absorbed the divine power in the talisman, and walked out of it. Die. The figure condensed a flying sword with divine consciousness, and the flying sword was as fast as a meteor. The skinless monster turned around immediately, and just as it turned around, its body split from the center. And the divine consciousness incarnation that suddenly appeared also dissipated. Yi Fan and the others were stunned. He didn't even blink. What was this person who suddenly appeared to help? In the temple, the sword is still sharp, and I'm talking about me. Chen Jing withdrew his thoughts. Just now, his cultivation was improved, and the Dao flower condensed. According to his ability to see the gods, the divine consciousness incarnation created the first inheritance method, the battle assisting method. This spell solves the problem that ordinary cultivators have too few spells in stock. He can't send out spells for free for the time being. First, it breaks the rules. Second, practicing spells also takes time and cost. Just like the university tutorials in the previous life can be searched on the internet, but still few people read them. If you don't understand spells, in addition to not having spells to learn, you don't have the conditions to learn. So the battle assisting method came into being to solve the pain points of the vast number of low-level practitioners who have difficulty in obtaining spells and even more difficulty in practicing. The battle assisting method currently extends to 2 techniques. One is I'll help you. You can leave a spiritual incarnation on the object you mark, and the spiritual incarnation can cast a spell. Chen Jing used this technique just now. Yi Fan and the other 2 have his talismans on them, which is equivalent to leaving a mark, and then use the talismans to transform part of the divine power to condense the spiritual incarnation. The incarnation kills the enemy from a long distance. Of course, he is the creator of spells, so he uses it more flexibly. People who learn his spells need a considerable degree of practice to achieve this level. The second technique is You Come to Help Me. The effect is the same as I Come to Help You, but it allows people who have not learned I Come to Help You to leave a spiritual incarnation on themselves. For Chen Jing, You Come to Help Me is more practical. Go back and let the master, the eldest brother, the second brother, the third sister, and all the uncles who have a good relationship, leave a spiritual incarnation on their bodies. In case you meet someone who is blind one day, just shout on the spot You Come to Help Me. The densely packed group of relatives and friends behind you will tell your opponents that being a gangster is all about loyalty and connections. Chapter 199 Attention. It's out, it's out. Chen Zhenchuan's Dao flower is out. A disciple's shout spread in the hall. What do you mean it's out? Those who don't know would think Chen Zhenchuan is giving birth. Don't keep us in suspense. What is the inheritance method? In the hall, Elder King Ming stood up and asked impatiently. There are many people who care about Chen Jing's progress in cultivation, and the elders of the sect are also among them. There are 2 kinds of geniuses in the cultivation world. One is the genius who cultivates and learns quickly. This kind is relatively more common, and their number determines the lower limit of a force. The second kind is a genius who creates new spells and creates something out of nothing. This is the rarest, and they determine the upper limit of a force. If Chen Jing develops a very powerful spell, when he becomes a Taoist, it can even directly change the future of the sect. It's very urgent. Even for a Saint Dao practitioner, the first inheritance method is rarely innovative. Another elder said calmly. Then he raised his chin and motioned the disciples below to continue. The disciple said, the inheritance method of Chen Zhenchuan is the incarnation of divine consciousness. There are skinning demons hiding in the city. In times of crisis, Zhenchuan descends as a divine consciousness incarnation and kills the enemy with one blow. The incarnation of divine consciousness is quite common. This inheritance method is quite standard, not bad. Elder King Ming nodded slowly. This news was not bad for him, but there was no surprise. The method of entrusting divine consciousness requires a divine hiding period to condense a path, or hide it in an artifact, or hide it in the sea of consciousness of others. It has miraculous effects at critical moments. This inheritance method can entrust divine consciousness with only the mysterious seal, which is also extraordinary. Another elder commented, and then changed his tone. Although it is not bad, it is not new as I expected. The 2 elders looked at each other and saw the regret of not winning the first prize in each other's eyes. Wei Shao, who was also observing Chen Jing's performance, looked a little disappointed. As a spectator, he naturally expected unexpected and exciting content. What he saw now was a little more stable and not eye-catching enough. He turned back to his seat and opened his folding fan. How can you please me with such performance? Master Yu, do you have any clue about the current situation? Chen Jing asked. There are many evil demons who are good at skinning and beheading, but there are very few who can skin and replace their bodies. In addition to the beheading demon, I can conclude that it must be the work of one of the 9 netherlords, the great heavenly demon. Oh. Chen Jing listened. The demon masters in the 9 nether have different preferences. Among them, the great heavenly demon's hobby is to devour those with great luck in Chen's Hao. Whenever there is luck, the great heavenly demon will find an opportunity to start with various means. Many well-known great powers in history have left their experiences of fighting with the great heavenly demon in their deeds. Master Yu solemnly said that the current situation roughly fits one of his methods. Those who peel off the skin will take away their identity, those who behead will cover up their names, and those who take away the heart will lose their minds. Those who peel off the skin and behead the head are easy to deal with, but the heart-stealing demon, who kills without blood, only has some memory loss and gradually becomes an empty shell. Master Yu said, if it is this one, we are in danger. Come for me. Chen Jing frowned. I will send a message to Elder Yangtze and call for some reinforcement. Not appropriate. Why? The big demon is cunning, and having more people is not a good thing, but a bad thing. There are many precedents for this. Chen Jing felt that what Master Yu said was right. The opponent who plays lurking assassination is not afraid of your large number of people. On the contrary, if the command system is inconsistent, it will be easier to find your weaknesses. How will it attack me? I don't know. Be careful or I will fire you. Chen Jing nodded. Well, no matter how it attacks me, I will prepare a surprise for it first. Let all the members of the Demon Slayer division come over. Those in other counties and towns, wait for me to come. It's a day off. That's great. The tall and thin man was dressed in casual clothes, looking happy. Yifan, let's go to the restaurant to have a good meal. Yifan beside him said in surprise, why don't you go to the temple fair with your lover? Lover? The tall and thin teammate shrugged. Why are you saying such weird things? Where do I get a lover? It's you who are going to go to the temple fair with your lover, right? You are a man who forgets his loyalty for the sake of beauty. Yifan's shoulders were hugged, and the doubts that had been condensed were also dispersed. Let me go first. The two of them made a fuss for a while, and suddenly, a man from the Demon Slayer division rushed out. You two didn't leave. It's just right. Come back quickly. Lord Chen summoned you. Ah. Yifan and the other man's face twitched. It's just a holiday. The tall and thin teammate said sadly. I. What do you mean I stuttered. No. The tall and thin teammate said I for a long time, and suddenly showed a confused look. He just blurted out that he had an appointment with his lover, but when the word came to his mouth, his mind was hazy. A sense of missing came from the bottom of his heart. Let's go see Lord Chen first. Yifan didn't care about him. Okay. The tall and thin teammate put aside his confusion, sorted out his mood, and returned the same way. Not long after, a group of members of the Demon Slayer division rushed to the temple in the city in batches. Going deep into the temple, everyone saw more colleagues and Chen Jing who was waiting there. Today, Chen has an important matter and asks for your help. Chen Jing's loud voice came. Lord Chen has something else to ask you and me? The tall and thin teammate said happily. That's just to be polite to you. Look at you silly. Yifan shook his head. The two of them mixed in the crowd, watching the young Master Chen get to the point after a short speech. Today I realized a method called the assisting method. After listening to the story, everyone also learned what Chen Jing meant, placing marks on them, and that they also needed to leave marks on Chen Jing. No wonder we can really help you when we say we can. In the future, when Master Chen fights the enemy, I will definitely have a wind-breaking gun. The tall and thin teammate's face was flushed, as if he was drunk. Yifan frowned and said, hey, are you okay? Suddenly, he turned around and looked at Yifan with a trace of greed in his eyes. He murmured, Yifan, be careful, you are also its target. What did you say? Ah. The tall and thin teammate wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth, stood up, and whispered, it's my turn. Hey. Looking at the other party's strange appearance, Yifan didn't know why, and his uneasiness was almost overflowing. No, what's his name? Exclamation mark. Yifan was shocked to find that he didn't even know the name of this teammate he had been with for a while. Something was wrong. Yifan stood up suddenly and stared at the tall and thin figure. He opened his mouth. His mouth and nose seemed to be filled with water droplets, gurgling, and he couldn't make any sound. He staggered back and fell, his eyes were bloodshot. The figure became taller and longer, deformed, twisted, and terrifying. It enveloped the entire temple. Chapter 200, Heavenly Demon. Not good, the Great Demon. At the elders meeting, Elder King Ming, who had been as calm as Mount Tay, suddenly stood up with a look of surprise. How could it be the Great Demon who took action? Chen Jing is in danger. King Ming, hurry to Anning Mansion. I will meet the sect master in person. If necessary, please use the Shenending. Another elder in black left in a hurry. The remaining elders looked at each other. They had never expected that this catastrophe would actually alarm the eyes of the master in the Nine Netherworld. Was it that the master of the Nine Netherworld was too picky, or did they underestimate Chen Jing's Tao? It's bad. We didn't take a good look at Chen Jing. Uncle Yunting is back. We are afraid that we will suffer the consequences. Chen Jing should have been dragged into the temporary Zuanjing at this time. I hope he can hold on until rescue. Send a message first, and bring the treasure mirror with you, otherwise we won't be able to find the entrance to the temporary Zuanjing. Send a message to Yangtze, who is closer. The other elders began to deal with the aftermath. In the city, zzzzzz. The black fog suddenly erupted from the temple, like a building on fire, with black pillars rising up, and the bloody aura connected to the sky, gathering into thick dark clouds. People coming and going were caught off guard and saw this terrible scene. They pointed at the sky and screamed in horror. What is that? Monster! There is a monster! My skin, me. Among the ordinary people, some people's skin cracked and turned into evil demons on the spot. Some people touched their heads and took them off. The heads that were taken off laughed grimly. Ominous things broke out in many places inside and outside Anning Mansion. Chaos spread rapidly, and panic gradually boiled. At this moment, it seemed that there was a radiant light. The evil demon pounced on the people, but penetrated each other like a shadow. Whether it was the people who were pounced, or the evil demon, they were stunned. Wei Shao saw this scene, and raised his head. That treasure mirror? It's a Taoist magic like the separation of the two worlds. It reacts quickly. Chen Jing was captured by the temporary mysterious scene created by the Great Demon, and the mirror space of the treasure mirror was the same. It quickly created a space close to the real world and temporarily isolated it. In the city, Aang Huayin stroked the treasure mirror, which was still humming, and was very angry. The evil spirit is just a general term. It contains too many kinds of spiritual power. The treasure mirror is just a magic weapon after all. It has no way to detect and warn in advance the spiritual power it has never seen before. As a powerful existence in the Nine Netherworld, it is easy to fool the Great Demon. Clean up these evil demons first. Aang Huayin responded calmly and pulled the members of the Demon Slayer division into the mirror. The destructive power of the treasure mirror cannot be unfolded on the mirror layer, so people can only go in to deal with it. The frightened people just now saw that the monsters could not hurt them, and there were members of the Demon Slayer division going into fight, and gradually recovered, thinking that this was a special New Year performance. On the other side, Chen Jing looked around in confusion. How could the decoration be changed in such a short time? In front of him, a tall and thin figure staggered. Run, Lord Chen, run, be careful. His face was struggling. Half of it was the dullness of forgetting many things, and half of it was some kind of greed that controlled his mind. A low roar and a painful murmur came from his mouth. Chen Jing looked in the direction of the sound. The face of this person was very unfamiliar, but there was a sense of deja vu. He recalled what Master Yu said. The person in front of him might be a friend he knew. But after being skinned, his appearance information was lost, and after being beheaded, his social identity was lost. After his heart was taken, his own memory about himself, and the memory of others about him were also lost. From then on, he completely became a walking corpse that was cruelly stripped and reduced to a claw. The Great Demon. Chen Jing remembered this name in his heart. Are you angry? Hey, there are quite a few people with good fortune in this small place, which makes me very happy, especially you, who will soon be mine too. A buzzing sound came from the throat of the demon's claw. Ding! Suddenly, the minions raised their hands and clamped a red flying sword between two fingers. The end of the flying sword trembled endlessly, but it could not move forward at all. Such a crude sword controlling technique. Please don't embarrass yourself. Crack. With 5 fingers tightly clenched, the red glass sword that had accompanied Chen Jing for a long time was broken by the demon minions. It sneered, and black blood dripped from its palm, and the blood dripped into a line, gathering into a black sword. It stretched its arms and swung violently, and the black sword came suddenly. Boom, look carefully, what a flying sword is. The demon minions shouted excitedly. Dust filled the air in the loud noise, but there was no other movement. Its smile stopped, and it walked into the dust. There was no trace of Chen Jing's existence, only the spiritual power left by the Earth Escape talisman. You can't escape. The demon minions did not pursue impatiently, but walked slowly in one direction. Are you waiting for someone to save you? It's a pity that you know nothing about Taoism. Anyone who can help you will not arrive for their own reasons. Those who want to save you will always be late due to various accidents, negligence, or accidents. The Taoism of Qian is very mysterious, isn't it? It suddenly turned its head, its scarlet eyes showing excitement, and waved its hand to chop down, smashing the ground. The terrifying power tore the earth apart. Found you. Puff puff puff. The next moment, beans bigger than fists hit it head on, causing it to stagger backwards. It let out a wild roar, and the demonic energy soared into the sky, turning into a skull and covering itself. Look closely. Rows of dark holes are facing him, and there is the sound of beans being loaded. Chen Jing stood behind these strange demon beans, and on both sides were extremely huge copper-skinned trees with big mouths and spikes on their bodies, like bodyguards. It's just a strange phenomenon. As soon as the voice fell, black corn fell from the sky above his head, exploding with a loud bang, and his head was buzzing. Although it was a strange phenomenon, in terms of attack power, it was already at the level of Shenzang. The demon's minions shook their heads, stepped back a few steps, and disappeared on the spot. It's just the Zuanayan realm. How long can you sustain the strange phenomenon? Only the voice echoed in the place. After being reminded, Chen Jing checked his mana, and found that the previous round of bombardment had used up a full 1%, and he couldn't help feeling a huge pressure. I don't know how much power this monster has accumulated. As soon as it attacked, it suppressed me to the point that I could only shrink and defend. If I defend for a long time, I will lose. He remembered what the other party said, that the luck and Taoism interfered, and the people who could save him couldn't come, and he felt more urgent. Wait a minute, the luck and Taoism. I can also do it. Chen Jing tried his best, and used the luck magic taught by senior sister Qian, the true dragon key watching technique. His pupils turned into dragon pupils, emitting a sense of mental oppression, and the illusory power of destiny was also brought into his eyes. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.